the roof was caving in.
I know.
That was some rain.
You know, the rain, it's funny when it rains like that, it can provide weird noises.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is that?
Yeah. It didn't seem.
I had several of those.
Yeah, like normal.
Like, wait, did a gutter fall off?
Yeah, like you're like, there's no way raindrops can be that heavy.
Yeah.
And you're like, but you know what? You're not going out. You're not going out to deal with it.
No,
like,
I just rolled back over and went to sleep.
That's a problem for future me. I'll deal with that in the morning. I did, however, have a first timer. I've never had this happen, although I did get to use the patented Sucanic stick. A gentleman.
Dead guy?
No, but I thought that was my first thought. I had a gentleman in my front yard today, and I did think that he might have been dead. That was my first thought.
Some dude passed out in your yard?
Well, I've got a decorative bench.
Yeah, you do.
You know, but it's like an
that
old.
Hasn't gotten stolen yet?
No, it's and there's
along with your retaining wall.
Hey, the retaining wall's back. I had to glue that together.
Really?
Yeah.
You got it back?
Well, no, I built it.
Oh.
And then I glued it all together because remember it got taken twice. So now I've glued it down. So if you're taking that retaining wall, you're taking it in big hunks. Screw you. Although, I kind of hope it was the same person that did it, just like, and a little bit of like comedy, like that dumbass rebuilt this wall. Thanks. Go ahead and take this too.
Maybe it was this guy.
I don't think this guy.
He came for it again and he couldn't handle it and he passed out.
I don't think this guy's building anything. So I got a little bench that just kind of sits like in the yard, and there's a skeleton currently on it. It's like, ooh, Halloween.
Yeah, very scary.
And like some pumpkins. So I'm going out this morning to go about my day. And dude, it scared the hell out of me because I looked out of the corner of my eye and I'm used to seeing the skeleton dude there. And so I kind of did one of those double takes and and it's not a skeleton. There was a dude.
The skeleton was moving.
That was my first thought. And I was like, no, that's a dude. And he was all like hunched over, not like backwards. He was doing the forward hunch.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, crap.
Don't you live like in an old person neighborhood in
Exactly.
Vancouver?
I was like, what the hell?
How'd that guy get all the way up there?
Well, that's what I was wondering.
Was he a homeless guy?
Well, look, I'm not here to say whether he was or wasn't homeless, but if he was homeless, he was a go-getter homeless. Like, there's levels to that game. He was not like 7 pairs of sweatpants, a sport coat, and like one sock.
Maybe he's newly homeless.
It's possible. Clearly, his evening or morning did not go well. And
what time of day?
Oh, this is like 9:30, 10 in the morning.
So you think he's on a bender?
That was my first thought. And my first thought was that he was dead because he wasn't moving. And part of my day was I was going to hit golf balls, so I had my clubs with me. And so I first did the, hey!
Showing your privilege.
Yeah, I was like, you do the, hey. Yeah, there was nothing. Nothing was happening. So I didn't know. I was like, do I call someone? I'm guessing 911's not going to respond to this. Because they're going to ask me, is he breathing? And I didn't know the answer to that question. And he was all slumped over. So, the patented Sucanic move.
Took a stick.
Took out the 5-iron.
Poked him.
And we did a little, And then he started to kind of like shake a little bit. And I was like, oh, thank God he's not dead.
Yeah, God.
Well,
there goes your day if he's dead.
Well, I don't want anyone to die. And 2, I'm not going to lie. Selfishly, I was like, please tell me. I did not want to deal with it. Because I'm assuming I got to answer questions. I can't I can't call him back.
You're home.
Yeah, I can't call and be like, hey, there's a dead guy in my yard, and then I got to go to work.
No, there's a dead guy in my yard, and I have to go hit golf balls.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a bit.
Well, it's true.
If you need to talk to me.
I'm trying to revamp my swing right now. It was kind of an important thing. And I had a chiropractor appointment. I had a lot going on.
Could you move the dead guy to somebody else's yard?
Well, here's the thing. So I aroused him with the 5-iron, and and he kind of, he's kind of doing like the, he's like, and I was like, hey, man, are you all right? And he's pretty slurry, so I don't know if he's homeless. Clearly, he was, he wasn't all there. And so I was kind of like, dude, I can't have you like here. Like, yeah. I need you to, need you to just
get to shuffle on down the road. There.
Yeah. So I did though. I was trying to be nice. I was like, can I do anything for you? Like, what? I just need you to kind of,
What if he wanted to use your restroom? Would you let him?
Ooh. Yeah. You know what? I think I might have done that.
Yeah.
If he would have agreed to move it down the road, I think I would have used I think we would have been all right with that.
Okay.
Again, I'm not here to be judgmental, but he wasn't like smelly or any. God, see there again. Like,
you were smelling homeless people?
Well, something like the smell of homeless. He did not reek of homelessness.
Is this fentanyl?
I don't know.
Maybe he's just houseless.
It's possible.
Do you have Narcan?
I don't. I don't. But I did have that thought of, I did have the 5-iron, and the 5-iron was ready to go. I was like, eh. And so, once he came about, I was fairly polite. And to be honest, he was actually pretty polite too. And he was a little apologetic. And I said, can I help you or whatever? And he mumbled some stuff that I didn't quite understand. And at that point, I told him, I need you to go. And he did. He walked 2 doors down and then just kind of plopped down there. And again, wasn't certain what to do.
You didn't ask him what was up?
Again, I wasn't getting a lot of, like, you think we're having a conversation like this. No, there was a lot. One of those. So, look, he moved a couple houses down and then just kind of plopped half sidewalk curb-ish. And then same thing. He was just kind of slumped. And I don't know what to do. Again, do I call 911? I'm guessing they don't care about it. He was 2 doors down, and then I left.
Yeah, I think problems like this we're on our own on these now.
Yeah.
There's just there are no resources for issues like this.
No. So I did I will say that I was a little weirded about leaving.
Yeah.
And then just having him there.
Because there's no one else at your house.
Exactly. So I did the drive around the block and listen to like 2 songs and then come back around. And in a shocker, where he plopped down 2 doors down, he was still plopped down there. And I was like, I don't think it mattered that it was my bench or that kind of curb. I think my bench just looked like the more comfortable place to plop. But he wasn't moving from the plop position. So at that point, I hate to do this, but kind of feel that's my neighbor's issue now.
No question.
And then I just kept going.
Yeah, no question. You can't control where he plops down.
I can't. And
after you kick him out.
And technically, it's half sidewalk, half their lawn. He's kind of on half public, half private. Because you can sit on a sidewalk, right? Like, that's legit.
Can you in Vancouver?
Yeah, I think sidewalks are, that you don't own the sidewalk.
They can.
Don't look at me, man. I've got no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, Klondike Will Ortner in today.
Hey!
Look at him over there.
Yeah.
He's all excited.
Where was Will when I need him? I'm like, Will, come help me. We could have, like, hoisted him somewhere.
Yeah.
I bet you half the people thought that this was me.
Oh, no, he was a he was a very slender gentleman.
He would say I'm not slender.
Will is
Are
girthy.
you calling him fat?
No, Will's in great shape.
I don't know if I like you calling me girthy.
I tell you, Will does not look like an offensive lineman.
No, Will's
he
all,
looks much beefier.
Yeah,
much sexier.
Yeah, Will's all sexy and skinny. This guy was like heroin chic. I think he weighed like $135.
So it was probably fentanyl.
There was something there. And I did feel kind of guilty about leaving him on the neighbors.
Nah. Don't the fentanyl people slump over? Isn't that the thing? And even sometimes even standing up.
I think so.
I think that's Xanax too.
Because you see them sometimes on the sidewalk and they're they're hunched.
Yeah.
And he was definitely hunched. So
Did you ask him for some?
I didn't. Hey man, you know where I can
Would you watch a movie of his evening?
I'll bet you that evening is very boring because my guess is a lot of him being on my bench and slumped over.
Oh, you think he got up? You think he slept there that night?
I don't know.
Or stumbled his way there in the morning. I think I in my head I had him just waltzing up in the morning.
It's possible
because he was wandering his way home.
I can't confirm or deny.
Got a little wayward.
Where he was going, where he came from.
Man, that's fascinating.
Yeah. Can't say that. That was a new one for me. Hadn't.
He seemed like a nice guy, and
I will say,
shoved on down the road.
If you would have told me how that interaction was going to go when I left the house and encountered said gentleman on my bench, I'm ecstatic. That couldn't have gone any better. He was
well, you handled it. I mean, no offense, but a lot of us probably thought you would be way bigger of a jerk about that than you were.
Oh, like I got a gun sort of thing.
Well, just Suki, be Suki to him.
No,
bully him and.
Well, to be fair, I
yell at him.
I thought I was gonna. Yeah, I really did. If you Vegas odds at that moment, I'm like, there's a dead guy on the bench, because that was how someone could lay like that and not move is. And he, by the way, very flexible because the dude was like head like in between the knees. Like I don't think I could get in that position if I wanted to.
So is he gone now?
I don't know.
Well, you went and hit golf balls.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you came back.
No. I went to hit golf
Oh.
balls. I went to the chiropractor.
You were
I
done
went
for
to
the
gym.
day.
I was done for the day.
You were out, so you
I was
have no
out.
idea.
No,
Oh, he's probably rummaging through your stuff right now.
it's possible. So no, I bring all my stuff most of the time when I leave to I shower somewhere else. And
He
then
knows
come
what
here.
time your show starts.
Oh, I was waiting. He's like, "Hey, Sook." I'm like, "Oh man, hey, it's nice to meet you." So
He didn't say that, did he?
no.
Oh.
Again, the most of what I got was
Well,
this was the main part of our conversation with him. A lot of that. So,
well, Deal said, if you had somebody sleeping in Sook's yard and he poked it with the stick poking on the bingo card, ding,
there you go.
mark your spot.
Look, I practice what I preach. I've said on this program many a time that if you're not sure about something, you don't approach it, you poke it. It gives you nice distance. And I thought the 5-iron was appropriate. You know, it's a nice long iron. Gave me some, and I poked with the not the iron end of it, the soft end, the butt of it.
Well,
So
that could have been way worse.
I'm kind of like wondering if I do come home tonight, if he's just back on the bench.
A new roomie.
It's like, hey man, what's up?
What are you gonna do about it? What if he did? If he just said, I like this bench. What are you gonna do about that?
I know.
What do you do?
You know what?
I guess you call
I think what I do is I just take the bench somewhere else.
you call over Will and you guys pick up the bench and.
Well, look, I think again, I felt like he was pretty receptive to the, hey man, I need you to move along. So if let's just say, for instance, he's like, dude, I really need this bench. It's really comfortable and I like your skeleton on it. I'd be like, cool. What if we take this bench and we move it 6 houses that way?
I'd help you carry that bench.
Yeah,
You'd give up the bench?
Oh, 100%. Look, it's an old withered bench. It's like, that's why it just sits out front. It's like something that belongs like in a Maine farmhouse. It used to be a nice bench, and now the elements have taken its toll on it, and now there's a junkie sleeping on it.
The people are saying heroin.
Heroin?
Yeah.
Mm.
And nobody knows drugs like our listeners. So they're saying that's the man showing signs of heroin use there.
Someone saying, don't I notoriously leave his doors unlocked? Not today. I can assure you of that.
Yeah.
That thing's locked
Roll them up.
That thing's locked tight as a drum. And
right.
a lot of times
Well,
I leave the big fella outside roaming around.
Yeah.
He's inside as well.
Yeah. He'll bark at him.
Yeah. That's not
He's
many
trying to get in your windows.
Not many people are looking at my dog and thinking, hey, let's go in there. Plus again,
All right.
The neighbor's house is nicer anyway.
We've got poll question and we took the whole first segment. That's old school us.
That's old.
Well,
not every day that happens.
We usually like to try to, sport's pretty hard right out of the gate.
How am I, what are you supposed to ignore that? I can't.
Yeah, no,
That's breaking news in my world.
Yeah, and you live in Vancouver. I live in Portland. I've never had that.
Yeah.
And you would think that's a Tuesday for me.
Exactly.
It's not.
This isn't supposed to happen.
Although we did
in
have
the
a woman
Cove.
camp on our sidewalk across the street.
Well, there you go.
And of course, the neighborhood was all up in arms about that. But she moved on.
It's the same sort of thing.
Well, it wasn't my problem. It was the neighbor's problem.
Exactly, which is why I told the guy, can you just couple houses, man?
Yeah.
2 down and I'm good. That's all I need. I need 1 buffer zone. 2 down. Someone else's problem.
All right. Well, since we blew through the first segment, we'll get the poll question in. Coming up next, it pertains to the Pac-12 college football, 314 on the Fan.
Yeah. The home of Dirt and Spray.
I'm Dirt. If the Blazers are ever to realize this young core potential, like the goal is to ultimately compete for
Trank.
Oh.
We've talked about Trank. Trank it's a street drug called xylazine,
Mhm.
and it eats flesh.
Oh. Well,
We've talked about it before.
So
Is
do I
that
need-
like crocodile?
same sort of vibe, maybe.
Croc and Trank, and yeah, I don't know.
Do I need to get a new grip on my 5-iron?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would.
Yeah. All right, time to regrip. And yeah, someone said, "Tell me your 5-iron's your least favorite club without telling me." Well, there's an element to that.
I love the 5-iron.
Do you?
Yeah,
I'm not poking him with a 7.
I
Come
like
on.
a good long iron. Anyway, perhaps
Focus.
perhaps it was the Trank.
Well, I like that you're Dennis' friend. Again, there's
Yeah.
a lot of people
He's
that are
trying
like,
to help.
"Oh yeah, this is an everyday
Yeah.
occurrence."
Clearly fentanyl, clearly heroin, clearly Trank. I love that. We're all becoming experts on drug use now.
Yeah. Well, it's
We see
amazing
it
how
so
many people are like, "Oh yeah, man."
Oh, yeah. See that all the time.
all the time. I got a buddy that lives on Division. Hey, that's true. He's that's again 3-4 times a week.
I have people that swear that they see they see people administering Narcan all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that an exaggeration or is that? I mean, I know it's happening out there.
Nah,
It's
I
just
think
like
it's-
you don't see it all the time.
I think it's happening a lot.
Well, I know, but you don't see it all the time.
Well, I think if you're out there,
That's
see, we're both old and
Oh,
we
all
go
the time.
home. Will's a youngster. Will's out there getting into it.
How many times have you seen somebody hit with Narcan, Will?
How many times have I?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that.
See, I think
it wasn't
why?
one of my friends.
Yeah.
I just it's
well, okay, but
happened. I'm an
once-
educator. I don't want people knowing where I'm at. I don't want them knowing.
I'm just saying, like Will's a young fella and Will's out amongst the bar scene and whatnot.
Well, that got a little awkward.
I think when you're out there mixing it
People
up,
don't need to know what I do on Friday and Saturday nights.
I think you see stuff.
Hmm.
We're just old. And
So how often do you see the Narcan being administered out there?
It's not as much as you would think, but
Yeah.
I'd be lying if
That's
I
what
said
I'm
it didn't
saying.
happen in the dorms.
God, in the dorms?
It happened a time or two.
I'm out there, it's said out there getting into stuff.
What happened to just old school weed and
No, that's nothing.
beer?
That's gone now.
God, people,
We've moved on to other things.
calm down. All right, poll question on X at 1080 The Fan, as always, brought to you by AAA Heating and Cooling, family business, helping families for over 60 years. AAAIAQ.com. Wrapping up yesterday's poll question, we asked you which college football team is currently the one nobody wants to play, and shockingly, Oregon won that.
Yeah.
59%.
I think that's true.
No way.
If you did that across the country, I think Oregon is one of those teams that just from Georgia to Ohio
Well,
State fan, I think everyone's just like, I don't
You know
like
who
this.
said that?
Herbie.
Herbie said
Yeah.
that.
I just
I
think
don't know. Alabama's getting close.
yeah, just to me, Oregon's a team right now that doesn't really have a giant weak spot. Although I think you can make a case that they're secondary. Washington State threw the ball all over them. Texas Tech threw it pretty well. Washington went up and down the field. It's just that they have shut down some other offenses, and the numbers are good across the board. They just isn't a real glaring weakness. That would be the one that I would circle. And there's not many of those teams out in the country that don't have a soft spot.
All right, Oregon 59%, Georgia got 21%, Bama 13%, and Washington just 7%.
I do think a lot of people are like, oh, this isn't the same Georgia team. Now watch them win 3 in a row.
Well, they might,
Yeah.
but Kirby Smart, I was watching a little bit of Georgia, Missouri, and they were talking about what Kirby Smart was saying on there, and even Kirby admits, he goes,
Yeah.
this is not
No.
the same team. We have to grind out these games.
Well, the last two versions of this championship team, look how many people went into the GD NFL. Like you can't do this every single year. Like Saban doesn't have a very good O-line this year. And look at all the receivers that came through Alabama. I mean, you go back from Amari Cooper to Jerry Jeudy to Henry Ruggs, But Smith, it's like one after another. And Michi, it was like a 6-year run where they had 2 to 3 first-round wide receivers every year. And then last year kind of hit. And remember, they had lost those 2 close games, and they didn't have one. And then this year, they don't really have one. So, it's really hard. You go on these runs, and we just assume that the next one up is going to be just like all the others. And the reality is, you don't replace Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is arguably one of the top 2 or 3 defensive linemen in the NFL right now. You don't find another one of him just because you're Georgia.
That said, they're 9-0.
I know.
And I was just looking at their schedule. There's only 2 games that have been within 10 points.
Yeah, South Carolina and Missouri, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's the
No, Auburn and Missouri.
What did the South Carolina game?
It was 10.
It was 10.
So technically 3.
So they've had 3 games.
Yeah.
But I think that's the idea is no offense to any of those teams. Missouri's actually pretty good, but those aren't necessarily, murderer's row.
Well,
Ohio State's the same way with their quarterback. We just assumed,
Yeah.
it's the next Ohio State quarterback. If you've watched Kyle McCord play, I'm not here to dog anyone. Kyle McCord is not a good quarterback.
if you're Oregon, would you rather play Ohio State or Washington?
I'd rather play Ohio State.
I think I would too.
Ohio State can't score.
Yeah, that quarterback does not
No.
scare you,
No.
but their defense is good.
Yeah, it is. But I would rather play. I do. I would rather play Ohio State, and that's bizarre. But I've watched Washington play, and I know when Washington is kind of him and Han, it can look a little sideways. But Washington's best and Ohio State's best. I'll take the Washington.
So today's poll question on X at 1080 The Fan: if Oregon or Washington slip up in November, where will it be? Washington hosting Utah, Washington at Oregon State,
Bingo.
Oregon hosting Oregon State, or Oregon hosting USC.
Yeah, I think the Washington Oregon State game is a little scary
That's
to me.
the scary one there.
Well, I mean, you look at Washington, and
Do you think those other 3 are lock it up?
No, I don't think
Because
that.
I think Utah could have something for Washington.
Absolutely. I don't think that any of these are lock it up guarantees. I look at Washington and you have played now I don't buy that the Arizona game was close cuz they were going
The
into
Washington Arizona
the
game?
Washington Arizona game.
Yeah, Washington won at Arizona, which now looks
like a great win.
Yeah.
And they were up all game long. They were going in to put it away. They had a fumble. Arizona went down and scored and made it a 1-score game.
They controlled that game.
They controlled that game. But Oregon, definition of razor thin, right? Like, come on. Like, that's.
Yeah.
And then they play Arizona State. Razor thin game. Needed a pick 6.
Boy, that game.
Yeah, right?
Oh, my God.
And then Stanford, razor thin.
They didn't score an offensive touchdown in that game, I don't think.
No, I don't think they did. And so that was just the Stanford game, right? Stanford's going down and with a chance to maybe put that game away. So that one, razor's edge. USC, razor's edge. At some point, like you keep white knuckling these from an emotional standpoint, from a physical standpoint. You just can't keep doing this week after week. Like this was TCU last year, and you just like one of these days the shoe's gonna drop. Now TCU got through their season; they lost in the Big 12 title game, but it is just really hard to play games like that week after week after week after week. Something's bound to happen, and so I look at Utah. Although Utah's at home and Utah is so limited offensively, and then you go down into Corvallis. The pressure starts to build. At that point, you're probably a top 3 to 4 team in the country. You're already sitting there at 5, and you're on the road in Corvallis. Tough place to play. The Beavers are good at home. They're a physical team. They can beat you up front. I think that's the one that I circle. Washington State's a road apple at this point. They stink. So I just look at. I think they'll beat Utah. And then even if that's another close game, that one at Oregon State, if I'm a Washington fan, scares the hell out of me. But if you're a Washington fan and you lose that game, take care of business in the Apple Cup.
Yeah, you're fine.
And you're fine.
All right, vote hard. It is pinned to the top of our X account at 1080 The Fan. If Oregon or Washington slip up in November, where will it be? When we get back, we'll talk a little bit more about this. USC coming to Oregon. Somebody text the Vancouver Ford text line, which can be reached at 503-864-6326, and they asked, is there no worry about Oregon USC this weekend? And I do think that is a sneaky one on this list.
Sure.
So we'll get to that. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. VancouverFord.com. We'll be right back. Here is Will Ortner, Sports Center.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Sports Center is brought to you by PG Long. Your new floors are in stock and ready to install at PG Long, your Northwest flooring experts. PGLongLLC.com. First on the Fan, with the top 8 teams in the initial college football rankings winning their games last Saturday, there is not expected to be too much movement in tonight's unveiling. Both UW and Oregon sat just outside of the top 4 spots, ranked 5th and 6th respectively. The official college football rankings will be released tonight at 4 over on ESPN. Over in the NFL, the LA Rams signed Carson Wentz today as a possible replacement at QB, while Matt Stafford is still rehabbing a sprained ULC in his right thumb. The Rams also waived QB Brett Rippon after his Week 9 start, where he completed 46% of his passes for 130 yards and an interception. Former Steelers receiver Martavis Bryant signed with the Dallas Cowboys practice squad after his workout with the team. Bryant has been out of the NFL since 2018 after multiple suspensions for violating the NFL substance abuse policy. Titans head coach Mike Vrabel made it official, naming Will Levis the team's full-time starting QB. Levis started the last 2 games with Ryan Tannehill out with a high ankle sprain he suffered in Week 6 versus the Ravens. In college basketball, Kansas has made their head coach Bill Self the highest-paid coach in college basketball. Self will make $13 million this season and will make $53 million over the next 5 years, topping Kentucky's John Calipari, who will earn $44 million over the next 5 years. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
One number does it all for contests and texting your favorite fan shows. The
maybe gives them a boost. That's from Chaz. I don't know what to think about this game. I trust Oregon. We've been talking about Oregon. Feel good about Oregon. Oregon's really good, but USC could go either way, right? Like it could be a total boat racing because
I think it probably will.
Maybe the dam bursts and they're just giving up. Or new defensive coordinator tightens some things up.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is still Caleb Williams, and it's a shootout.
Look,
I don't know.
I think anytime you're playing a team that's as talented as USC, I get that you should be somewhat concerned, but you're at home. You don't lose at home. Hardly ever. I mean, we talk about Utah having a great home field advantage. So does Oregon.
When was their last loss at home?
I don't know, but they've been phenomenal. They were great under Mario. They just don't lose there very often. If you look up their home record, again, I'll bet you it's just outstanding over the last decade. And when you look at USC, this isn't like USC recently kind of being like, well, they've run into a rough spot. We've been saying this about USC all year, that it just wasn't good enough. You can go back to San Jose State and we said the defense wasn't good enough. So I have no doubt that USC can score some points. I totally buy that. So that should be enough to give you a little bit of a worry there. But the USC defense, who have they stopped? Like literally who? Anybody? And
Stanford only scored 10 on them.
Oh, there you go. So I guess that's true. So they've stopped Stanford. They haven't stopped anyone other than Stanford. And this is the best offense that they've played. Them in Washington, and Washington put up 52 against them.
I guess they, I was racking my brain. Like, Oregon's last loss at Autzen was last year to Washington.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
We forgot about that.
Yeah, Washington got him.
Yeah.
They just...
Kalen DeBoer.
DeBoer, 2-0.
He's Dan Lanning's daddy.
Well, and that is one of those things that, like, I too agree that right now Oregon looks like they're playing better than Washington. Look, they are playing better than Washington, but I do love the people that are like, well, Washington wants nothing to do with Oregon. They have beat them 2 years in a row. So, look, I get it why you think Oregon looks better, but can we give Washington a little bit of credit for beating them not once, but twice, and once at your place where you don't lose? So the USC thing, it's just so you're telling me that magically that they're just going to put this all together on the road in one of the toughest places to play in the country?
No, but you saw like there's something about the fired coach theory. You saw it with the Raiders.
Yeah.
When the coach goes where something's just not working, maybe a fresh set of eyes can come in, and you gotta do something fast because it's there's another game in 6 days.
Yeah, and you can't.
And maybe guys rally to that. I mean, they have athletes, right?
Yes, they can't make sweeping changes, but they can simplify things. First off, that stupid 3-3-5 that they run is just a gimmick garbage defense that makes no sense why a team like USC runs it.
They don't need to run it. You run it when you don't have the dudes.
Exactly.
They have the dudes.
That's a West Virginia, New Mexico, Rocky Long sort of thing. It's
like the air raid, but defensively.
Yeah, like, oh, we're going to swarm around so you don't know where we're coming from, and we're going to slant and stunt, and everyone has just figured it out. Cool, we'll just run it up your you-know-what, and good luck stopping it. USC can't even line up properly. Like, anytime go watch any of the USC games, watch someone run a shift, and watch USC panic and not know what the hell they're doing.
The holes, like Dylan John, like
170 yards, I believe.
Some of those holes were just really shocking.
You could have run through even after the Pheasant Bowl knee injury.
Yeah. How many yards could I run for last week on USC?
I bet you could have run for 35 to 40 yards.
Nice.
They ran for I believe it was 176, 174, something like that, before contact. In my life, I have never seen supposedly a top 25 team give up, by the way, to a team that doesn't run the ball. Washington doesn't want to run it. Washington is not a running team, and he ran for 256 and 170 something before contact. It's unbelievable. There were multiple times when USC ran a little toss play to the short side of the field, and USC had a defensive back, a corner setting the Washington.
Yeah.
No.
You said USC.
Yeah, USC came up. USC was setting the edge with a 165-pound corner. What? Like on a tight end or an H-back, or there were a couple times where it was a tackle. They ran a little power G where we pull out a guard, we pull out a tackle. And I sat there and I was like, you're telling me that your defensive scheme was to slant everyone away from the run and then have your corner be there to set the edge. Cool. Great idea. I mean, it's
Well,
unbelievable. So
maybe they rally.
I'll say this. If USC is at all smart, and I think Sean Nua is their new defensive coordinator.
Well, they have Co.
Yeah, they're co. So
Odom and Nua.
you can't make sweeping changes in a week. You can't. You can't install an entirely new scheme. What you can do, and this is what I would do, and I'll bet you USC runs some form of it,
Bring in Josh Dobbs.
is to simplify Josh Dobbs, aerospace engineer, playing free safety. Simplify everything. Play a four-man front. Just play a four-man front, play a two-high safety look, and simply say, we are going to be in base 75 to 85% of the time. This is what we're going to do. And we're going to play a bend but don't break. And we're not going to try to get negative plays. We're not going to try to stunt. We're going to make this as simple for you guys as possible. See ball, go get ball, keep everything in front of you, and make Oregon go on big drives. And then at least you can try to maybe shorten the game, because I don't think you want to get into a full-on shootout like you had with Washington, because your defense won't hold up.
Their last 3 games have been really close.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
You know the last time USC visited Autzen?
I don't. Not off the top of my head.
The Vernon Adams game?
2015.
Vernon Adams.
That was a long-ass time ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah. This is...
I was in high school.
Yeah, Will was 12.
I was 17.
It's a big game. Yeah. I mean, it's cool when USC comes to town. There's always a little extra juice.
Well, and you know, there will be a big rivalry going forward, because going to the Big Ten, USC did not want Oregon going to the Big Ten. I think there's a lot of recruiting battles going on here. Look, one of the big reasons why USC hasn't been USC as of late is Oregon takes all the USC kids. The kids that used to automatically sign up to go to USC is no longer the dream school. That's the other one to me, that if I were Lincoln Riley, I would go to all the, well, one, Lincoln Riley has to determine and figure out what his program is going to be. And he needs to go, he's the anti-Kyle Whittingham. Remember all those years ago, Kyle Whittingham changed his offensive coordinator seemingly every year? I think he ran through like 6 or 7 of them in like an 8 or 9 year period. It was ridiculous. Kyle Whittingham was such a heavy-handed defensive coach that he couldn't get out of his way and he couldn't figure out an offense. Lincoln Riley needs to just go talk to someone. Go hire Jim Leonard or whoever DC you're going to go get, and simply say, I am going to leave you alone. Like, you run this however you want to run it, and you develop a hard-nosed attitude. I am determined that we are going to play good defense. Get out of the way. And the other one, too, is I think he needs to go to those old the curmudgeons at USC and tell them to evolve, because it's not a cool school anymore. It just isn't. When you talk about the big brands in college football and what they're doing, dude, unless you're Alabama, you know, and maybe Georgia, that thinks that you can just sit there and like live on tradition, USC has to break out of their mold, because they are getting outclassed right now, and they are not the cool brand on the West Coast.
You think Riley's gonzo? Or do you think firing Grinch means that he might stay?
No, I think he'll stick around.
You think he'll stay?
And I think some of the shine's come off him a little bit. So yeah, I think he's there.
All right, a couple more texts on this. We'll wrap it up when we get back, and then we have Jake Dickert audio. You know him?
Yeah, it's not a good look right now for him.
Why? You talking about this NIL deal?
He's taking a lot of flack for it, even though what he's saying is true. Just hard when you've lost 5 in a row.
He seems like kind of a whiny ass.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he was whining about, the disrespect when he was winning, and now that he's losing, now he's whining about this. It's just, it's
not a good look.
It's not a great look.
All right, it's 3:44 on the Fan.
The Ducks pass a big
Somebody mentions Washington getting physical Utah this week. And he says they should win, but that's a sneaky little factor in favor of the Beavs.
Absolutely.
Utah games tend to linger.
Yeah, when you play, and by the way, there may be some of that with the Oregon game too. I mean, dude, they took some hits in that. You know, Penix was beat up. Dunze McMillan has been in and out basically all year. I don't even know what his status is.
He's got a hamstring pull.
Yeah, like he went in, was it, I forget one of the last 2 weeks for like 2 plays and went back out. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, like when he's on the field, if he's healthy, that's 3 first-round receivers. And Dunze and Polk are both going to be first-round receivers. And McMillan was the number 2 guy before Polk was even there. So, but yeah, they left that Oregon game beat up. And absolutely, playing 2 physical games in a row, a rock'em sock'em game against the Utes, because regardless of whatever you think of Utah's offense, you're going to feel it. And then you get to turn around and play another physical game against Oregon State. Dude, that's a tough task. And again, what I like about Oregon State is I think if I'm trying to beat Washington or I'm trying to beat Oregon, and I'm not Oregon or Washington because they can go toe to toe with each other, you're just trying to shorten the game. You're trying to make it a 7-possession game. And you're just, the best way to stop Michael Penix is to just keep him on the sidelines. And the Beavs, whatever you think of their quarterback play and whatever you think about Jonathan Smith and going for it, the Beavs run the ball. And the Beavs can run the ball on most people. And they sure as hell can run the ball on Washington. So if I'm an Oregon State fan, I go into that game and I'm just screaming, please, I would like to see us run the ball 50 times. If Oregon State runs it between 45 and 52 carries, Oregon State can win that game. If it ends up being 35 carries and 35 or 40 passes, you're not beating Washington.
Deal says USC couldn't even stop Oregon from joining the Big Ten. Nice. I like that.
Look, USC needs to determine
Well,
what they want to be, because right now they're a flashy sports car that's broken down and they're soft. And you're going into
Yeah,
the
but
big
wasn't
you're going
Lincoln-
into the Big Ten.
wasn't Lincoln Riley's? I mean,
Yeah,
those
same.
teams at Oklahoma were the same.
Yes. So someone needs to get, that's why I brought up the Kyle Whittingham thing. Someone finally convinced Kyle Whittingham that if you want to win and you want to win big, go hire a really good offensive guy and get the hell out of the way.
Defensive guy.
No, offensive guy for Kyle Whittingham.
Oh, Whittingham. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're saying Riley.
Yes,
go hire a
someone needs
defensive-
to get a hold of Lincoln Riley and be like, look, no one is doubting your offensive acumen. You've produced Heisman Trophy winners. You produce first-round picks. You're one of the bright offensive minds, and your team is soft as S. And so go hire the best defensive mind and give him carte blanche. Someone on the text program brought it up, said that Aliotti said that under the 4 or 5 years that he was with Chip Kelly never once was on the headset with him. He just said, Nick, I'm going to score points. I understand I'm going to put you behind the 8 ball a little bit. I don't want to hear about the struggles. Go do this for me. And remember in that game against Auburn, their defense won them a national title. It was their offense that let them down. And Lincoln Riley needs to do that. So don't give me this, we play an up-tempo game and we throw it around so you can't have a great defense. Granted, you may not have Iowa's defense, but you're telling me that you can't have a good enough defense at USC? That's on you. Someone needs to tell Lincoln Riley to check your ego at the door and go hire someone that can install some toughness into your program.
Some of that, too, though, is when they recruit athletes, some of them have to go on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
Because right now, what Lincoln Riley does is if you have any offensive acumen at all in your 4 or 5-star kid, he puts you on offense because he wants them, which I get. Every coach wants the best players. But sometimes if you have a guy who's a 5-star athlete and he can play wide receiver or corner, he needs to go play corner for your
And
defense.
you have to convince the big boys up front that it's cool to go to USC. That's what I said.
Are there more offensive guys than defensive guys, like recruiting-wise?
Yes.
So, yeah.
More guys want to go offense.
Guys
That's
wanna
a good
play
point.
defense.
If you're an athlete, you want to be on offense.
But you're right. You got to like really seek out those defensive guys, pinpoint who those guys are, and go get them.
I asked Dan Lanning about that either last week or the week before. How do you convince West Coast kids to want to come here and play defense? There is a different mentality when you get to the other side of the country. You get down in the South. Dude, there's some dogs down there that don't want to play offense. Dude, they grew up watching SEC Big Ten defenses, and they're chomping at the bit. Out here, I mean, one of the reasons why DeAnthony Thomas ended up going to Oregon, well, one was a pile of cash, but the other one, well, I mean, look, we know, come on. Well, the other one was that USC was like, you're going to be a DB. And Oregon was like, nah, we're and that ended up working out for Oregon. But it's hard to convince flashy West Coast kids to want to go play defense.
Yeah.
And for Pete, the thing you can give Pete Carroll credit for is for all the Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart crap. And believe me, they and all the receivers they had, because they had a ton. From Mike Williams to Steve Smith. I mean, they had dudes on the outside. And Dwayne Jarrett. Dude, they had Ray Malaluga, Clay Matthews,
Brian Cushing.
Palomalu.
Yeah, Troy Polamalu. Up front, they had Sean Cody. They had Cedric Ellis. I mean, they had horses.
Does
up
anybody
front.
ever go to Pete Carroll and ask him how he did that? Like,
Well, and
it
now
wouldn't seem that hard. Call him up.
exactly, and bags of cash, and now you can give bags of cash legally.
But I also think that it's interesting. It's like with Pete Carroll, he would probably say, well, it's different, chewing his gum. He'd be like, it's a different time. And we just had, all those kids in SoCal, we just kept all those guys, right?
Dan Lanning's doing it.
Well, but I'm just saying, like, now with NIL, like, you can get anybody from any. I think they recruit nationally more than ever.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not an excuse. You can't just say, oh, Oregon's poaching all the SoCal kids. There's kids everywhere, and you have NIL, bunch of money at USC.
Yep.
So why does Lincoln Riley not just call Pete Carroll and go, dude, how did you do it? I will do it that way.
It's why I think it's really smart that Oregon went and got a guy like Dan Lanning. I think when Lanning sits in a room with kids, I think he sells them a vision of a bunch of rabid dogs down at Georgia winning national titles and winning it by putting 8 guys in the first round off of a defense. And I think people are listening. And I think when Lincoln Riley goes there and sells something to a defensive-minded kid, he looks at it and goes, USC defense? The last time that USC was relevant on defense was under Pete Carroll. That's been a long-ass time. And I think it's an uphill battle for USC to sell those 5-star kids right now that, hey, I can go play at Oregon, I can go play at Georgia, I can go play at Alabama, I can go play at Ohio State. Washington has had this battle too. Who's the defensive end for Ohio State? JT.
He's from Eastside Catholic.
Yeah.
He's from Bellevue.
He's from Bellevue.
Number one recruit in the country.
Yeah, and he grew up being a Washington fan. But that kid wants to go be a first-round defensive player. And Washington, by the way, had a pretty good defensive rep. I mean, they put guys in the NFL from Vita Vea, Shaq Thompson. They put that, and they still couldn't keep him. Like it's just hard sometimes on the West Coast to keep those kids when you're that much of a stud recruit. It's like being if I'm a big stud basketball player. And I got Kentucky and I got Kansas and I got Duke calling me. And then out here in the West, we're like, well, you can stay out here and play. And Lanning has convinced those kids. And you hear it all the time when these 5-star, defensive players commit to it. Like there's like this talk of they're building the bully up there. And if what USC is not careful, you've got a bully being built above you right now that's cooler than you, that's sexier than you. And right now they're tougher than you. And that's problematic for him.
All right, let's listen to Jake Dickert audio, who says the worst is to come for the Bees and the Cougs. We'll get to that next on The Fan.
I'm Joe Ostrowski here to help you beat the books with BetQL. Creighton lost in heartbreaking fashion in the round of 8 last March, but they're running it back with a number of their key pieces back in the fold. The Blue Jays are 30-1 to win the title, and they begin their road to Phoenix as a 33.5-point favorite against Florida A&M. BetQL has Creighton minus 33.5 as a 5-star best bet. I'm Joe Ostrowski. Bet smarter, beat the books. Download the BetQL and BetMGM apps today.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The holidays are always hectic, but with the BMW i5 and iX, you can make them 100% electric. Make every journey a thrill with the cutting-edge driver technology.
So our producer had a kid, Ryan Buckley, a healthy baby boy named Maze.
Maze Buckley. And we got shirtless Ryan Buckley. Did you see his post?
What?
Yeah. Well, you know, they always have
the
they always have the
bonding
photo of like mom, you know, like right after the birth. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. And then we flipped the photo and boom, shirtless Ryan Buckley. Eye on chest hair. Buckley bringing the chest hair heat.
Well, Schulte fills in for Buckley, but he's out, and now Will is in.
There we go.
So
I'm the Carson Wentz of 1080 The Fan.
yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't-
That's a long, valuable career.
I don't think there is either. And I have to say this.
Better than being the Zach Wilson of 1080 The Fan.
I don't know. He's hanging out with some old ladies. I'm about that.
You don't think Wentz is a religious dude? He's just hanging out with his old lady.
Boring.
He just shoots
you-
ducks.
He does what now?
He's a big hunter.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is a big
That
hunter.
sounded-
He shoots ducks.
Yeah, shoots.
Shoots.
Yeah, sounded a little
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
questionable. Do you guys have a quarterback that you just sort of think is better than he is, and you just won't admit that he's not? Because
Right now or in the
Just-
in the past?
I think right now Carson Wentz is mine. Like I have always look, he sucks. Okay, I've watched him. I watch a lot of NFL. I've watched him. I watched him with the Colts. I watched him with obviously the Eagles. I watched him with Washington. He's not any good. But I am stunned at how many terrible quarterbacks are getting shots ahead of him.
Yeah.
It stuns me. Like Desmond Ridder is a great example. Comes to mind. It's terrible. That guy's so bad. Why would you not at least try Carson? You know what I mean? Like he's not that expensive. Nobody wants him.
No.
There's got to be something up with him because if you look at his stats,
I
they're not
guess-
that bad.
No, I think he's got a bad rep in the locker
Yeah, I
room.
think a lot of people just don't like him,
I
right?
think- yeah,
Is that the thing?
I think he rubs people the wrong way. I would say mine.
yeah.
and
Do you have one of those?
it's weird because I think most people assume he's good. It's just like I just think he's better. Mine has always been Kirk Cousins. Like we love to crap on Kirk Cousins, and I'll go to my grave saying that I would
pretty good.
I would roll the dice with Kirkers.
Yeah.
Like 9 times out of 10. Like outside of the top 4 guys, right? Like we just love to crap on that guy for his
Well-
primetime numbers, and I'll take Cousins all day, every day.
Well, he doesn't suck.
No,
Kirk Cousins does not suck.
no, he doesn't. But people act like he does, and that's the closest thing I can come to because
Well,
it bothers me.
His primetime number or his big game numbers are not good.
I would still take him over a lot of other quarterbacks that people think
All right.
are great.
That's a good one. Do you have one, Will?
I'm starting to come off this one, but a long time for Gino. I was ride or die for my guy Gino, and he
Really?
Sucks.
Well, he's not having a great year.
well, he's
So
not
far.
getting a lot of help in play calling at times,
Oh.
and his O line's beat up.
There are the excuses.
But he's got he's got 8 turnovers in the last 4 games.
Yeah,
he sucks. Right
he's
now.
looking like old Gino.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's interesting. We all have that guy.
we do.
They were like, I like that guy.
Yeah.
Well, coaches have it too.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting that McVay just signed Wentz.
yeah.
Again, here I go. I don't think that's going to be bad, dude.
I am a little bit of just I'm perplexed at the idea that Rodgers went down in week 1.
Yes.
Look,
Yes.
Zach Wilson, BYU guy. I'm wearing a BYU shirt right now. Zach Wilson is not an NFL quarterback.
No, he's terrible.
He is not, and everyone could see it. And like he had that one game against the Chiefs, and people were like, "Oh, Zach Wilson is bad," and he's playing behind a terrible O line. But it's just like, why wouldn't you at least take a stab at Carson Wentz?
Preaching to the choir, man.
You know, you're rolling out Tommy DeVito, and not
New York, man. you
Yeah,
mean?
New
Or
York.
the Giants.
The Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going with DeVito.
Well, they had Taylor, but he's out.
yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know. Anyway,
and Tyrod Taylor is the exact opposite of Carson Wentz, in that Carson Wentz is better than Tyrod Taylor, but people like Tyrod Taylor. He's viewed as a
Yeah.
steadying force, a guy that you can have in the locker room and in the meeting rooms. And for whatever reason, I think people think Wentz is a bitch and they don't like him.
yeah, he must be tough to deal with or something.
Must be.
But you know who's really come out of nowhere in the backup quarterback game this year?
Hmm.
Dobbs.
Yeah.
Like Dobbs, you know, he was an afterthought. Wasn't he like third string?
Yeah.
And then Arizona gets him, and you watch Arizona, and they didn't win any games, but it was like, wow, he can kind of sling it.
Yeah. Well,
And then he goes to Minnesota, and he has like 3 days to prepare, and they win.
at the beginning of the year, like we were like, oh my gosh, like Arizona's a tough out. But then like the reality set in and Dobbs went back to being crappy, which is why I'm saying like
Well,
enjoy.
but he showed
He showed it.
signs that
Yes.
it's like, wow, that guy's not as bad as you thought he
No,
was.
Dobbs is a solid backup, but this is the problem that we do every time we get a backup that comes in.
Seems like a nice guy too.
Yeah, well, he's like a NASA guy. He's like an
Yeah.
aerospace engineer.
Yeah, he seems very smart.
the smartest dude in the NFL now that Fitzmagic is gone. Like, but we do this with whether it's Heineke or, Josh Dobbs or whoever, right? Like the dude comes in and they'll play like 2 good games. And we're like, oh, Mike White, there's a million of them. They're like, well, we found our quarterback.
Levis.
Yeah, like, well, Levis at least
He showed some signs.
They'll show
too.
some signs, and we'll see what happens down the road. He's going to be the starter the rest of the year. But we do it with these guys that are like career journeyman backups. And then we just like after like a game or two, we're like, well, they found the answer. Like, can we just please give this thing like 6 games, 4 or 5 games? And like 99 times out of 100 after the 5th game, we're right back to being like, oh God, this guy sucks.
Well, how often does it happen where you got a guy who everybody thinks sucks, and then or he's a backup, he just didn't win the job or whatever,
Once in a blue moon.
and then he goes in, and you're like, whoa. How often does it happen that they actually stick?
Like Romo, Jalen.
Purdy. but
Yeah,
that-
and now that we're waiting to see. But there's
Tom
been
Brady.
there's been a 3-game
Yeah.
rough, but he's the ultimate.
That's a pretty good one.
I mean, God.
Brady.
But I would say like in the last 20 years, right? He's obviously the gold standard. But Romo was that way.
Yeah.
They came-
Undrafted.
yeah, undrafted, and because who got hurt? Was it Bledsoe? Someone got
I
hurt,
think it
and,
was Bledsoe for both.
and he came in, and then it was like, well, all
Romo
right,
supplanted Bledsoe.
I think that's who it was because they had a quarterback and he got hurt, and I think Romo came in and never gave it up. Hurts was that way. Hurts was a 2nd or 3rd round pick and wasn't very good at the beginning and has grown into an MVP type guy. I'm trying to think of I guess you got like a Kurt Warner type. Trent Green got hurt. Kurt Warner stepped in and, NFL Hall of Fame. So, I mean,
It happens.
It happens. But I'm telling you, like, it's not even like 9 times out of 10. It's like I said, it's more like 99 times out of 100. You go back to being Josh Dobbs. Trust me, in 3 to 4 weeks, Minnesota will be back to being like, freaking Dobbs. It's one of those.
Yeah.
But you can pull off performances like that. I mean, because obviously you have the skill set, and you have magic moments. Dude, Derek Anderson made a Pro Bowl. Matt Moore was a guy like this. Matt Moore for a long time. Every now and then Matt Moore would play, and you're like, I think Matt Moore could be a starter in this league. And then you're like, well, okay, maybe not.
He was a starter for a playoff Miami Dolphins
Yeah.
team.
Yeah,
They went to the playoffs,
like
right?
there's that
And,
moment.
and he got hurt in the first drive, and they were doing well.
Yeah, you think that, like, oh man, if this is gonna be him, and then I guess like the media, like, so there's way more of those guys, and then you get like the Kurt Warner, like Tom Brady, Romo, and then you always get like a Matt Schaub who like can like plays for like 6 or 7 years, like makes a Pro Bowl, and you're like, it's okay, and then but never kind of ascends. It's like there's degrees to this thing, but for the most part, at this point in your career, the Josh Dobbs of the world and the Taylor Heinekes and these guys, they are who they are. They're not magically going to come out of nowhere now. That's the thing about Brady. That's the thing about Warner. That's the thing about Romo. Remember, those guys weren't 7-year, guys that had played a bunch of football. Warner, Brady, Romo, no, those guys had never played. They were just backups. And the first time they got a chance to play, they never sat back down. That's Brock Purdy too. And we'll see what happens to him. But there's a difference between the moment I got my opportunity, I took it and I ran with it, and Tyrod Taylor or Dobbs or whoever that have had, Dennis Dixon, when he was a backup for all those years, Kellen Clemens, guys like this, Matt Moore, they've had plenty of opportunities to play, and they continually lose the job. So that's a big distinction that needs to be made between the two types.
All right. Well, we got derailed there. We've got Jake Dickert audio on NIL, which everybody's talking about. We'll play that for you. They are revealing the college football playoff rankings right now. Oregon is 6th. Washington is 5th.
Yeah, nothing's-
just like last
Yeah,
week.
nothing's going to change. Everyone won.
Nothing's going to change. So we'll get back and talk about the Cougs, who have lost 5 in a row. And their coach is now griping.
Well, he was griping before. We're just griping about different things now.
It's 4:14 on the Fan.
It's the Fan.
There you
Yeah.
go. But we'll get those shakeups because obviously teams start playing each other, coming up here.
All right, so Jake Dickert is the head coach at Washington State, and after a 4-0 start, they have lost 5 in a row.
Yeah, they were the darlings of the college football world for a while there, and then,
Well, they beat Oregon State.
Yeah, beat Oregon State. Well, they kind of throttled Oregon State, and then the Beavs made that late push, and they gave Oregon a little bit of a problem too. Threw it around on them, and Dickert was kind of screaming from the mountaintops of "Look at us!" and this is a shame, and look how we can't believe we don't have a place at the table. And this is what I was just kind of warning the fans, like, be careful puffing out your chest when traditionally it hasn't necessarily been great, and now I do think that a lot of people are kind of rubbing their nose in it, and that's unfair because what's happened to them still sucks. It's just that when you whine and cry and then you lose 5 in a row, people kind of want to point the finger at you.
So they were 4-0. They had beaten Wisconsin and Oregon State, both top 20 teams.
Yeah.
And then they lost to UCLA, Arizona, Oregon. And these last two, if you haven't been following, they lost to Arizona State and Stanford. They scored 7 points against Stanford.
Well, and Arizona went into Pullman and laid
44-6.
44-6, something. Yeah, it was bad.
Well, that is a little context behind Jake Dickert now suddenly having a real problem with NIL. He has gone viral for this clip. It's about 2 minutes, and it's him talking about Washington State standing in the college football landscape.
Well, I think it's a great question, because I think in today's world, you can no longer just say, passion and spirit's going to get you by anymore. I mean, it's just completely real that the NIL matters. And the facts are Washington State were way behind, not even competitive in some aspects of the NIL, right? And, recruiting, these kids tell you what they're getting, so, Oregon State probably has us by 10X, Arizona has us by 20X. I mean, USC, Washington, Oregon, who even knows, right? It's a whole nother planet. That's part of what we need, and it's very, very important. In 3 weeks, is going to be open target season on our players. That's what it's going to be, and it's already started, right? So that's what's coming. We need to provide them with as much resources as we possibly have here to keep this team together, to keep recruiting, to keep going. It's the future of college football, and to ignore it or to ever think it's going to go away, that's a long time in the horizon, right? So I think it's only going to grow in some capacity. And I'm very supportive of the players getting a piece of the puzzle and profiting off their name, image, likeness. I've said that many times up here. But to think as a university and a program to be where we want to be and we know we should be, it's got to be a huge part of it. It has to be, especially at the forefront of the football program, right? We got to carry the flag for the university going through to whatever phase we're doing. And I think everyone around here knows that. And that's not a pressure. That's just an understanding of we're prideful in this. We're prideful of what we want to do on that football field. So I think it's got to be a vital part because, in 3 weeks, I can't even imagine, what guys are getting. And we're open to those conversations and understanding that. But we need to keep this team together and keep building for the future. That's what this thing will always be about.
Yeah, so
he's not wrong in any of those things he said.
A lot of what he says is right.
It's just, it comes at a moment. It's hard to call out a fan base. It's hard to call out a university when you've lost 5 in a row and you just got done, like I said, seemingly whining about the Pac-12 situation and no one respecting you for the previous month. And now it's this. It's just, I just don't know if it's the best look in the world.
I have a problem. Well, first of all, I think he's kind of he's rubbed me the wrong way, and I don't really know why.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's that good. And honestly, that right there was a purpose pitch by him. And, dude, is he long for Washington State?
Well, look, I don't know how much. I said at the beginning that he was gone, but now you've lost 5 in a row.
He may be gone the other way.
He may be gone the other way, or he's just going to have to stay. Maybe now he's saying this because he realizes
that's what I mean.
He's having to stay at Washington State because the Michigan State jobs of the world have dried up.
Well, the second thing for me is college football has never had parity.
Ever.
It has never had equal budgets.
No.
And so when you look around college football, and I think we've talked about this before, but it seems like NIL has actually created more parity because the transfer portal.
Yes.
You can get better quicker.
Yeah, I don't think
kids,
it's NIL. The transfer portal has done a better job of leveling the playing field.
Yeah, and kids, I mean, again, it's never been level, but there are more ways for you to get better quickly, even if you can't compete at the highest level with NIL than ever before.
Yes.
And so that's why, to me, it's disingenuous when you have a coach just sit here and say it's all about NIL and we can't keep up. If you can't keep up, and we understand that Washington State can't to a degree, and he's even saying Oregon State, who can't to a degree, is 10x ahead of them, and now that's a fair point. But how is Kansas keeping up? I mean, if you can't keep up, isn't that a reflection on you? I mean, some are and some aren't, just like before. It's no different. So I need somebody to explain to me, maybe you can, or maybe Jake Dickert can just call right in and tell us, what is the difference between Washington State having to battle against the big boys before and Washington State having to battle against the big boys now?
Two fronts here that I'll go down. The first one is you need to be realistic, because I think you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You're never, because he brought up Oregon, right, in that, or he said USC or whatever. Washington State has never competed for recruits with Oregon and USC, and they never will. So let's just get that straight right off the bat.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So what's the difference?
So then you go down the road of you're competing against Washington State. To be honest with you, is competing against the Boise States, the Oregon States of the world, Cal, places like that. So if you can't keep up NIL with those schools, well then I don't know what to tell you. That is more of a university and an alumni problem. Because if Oregon State, and I don't know how true that is, but if Oregon State's 10 times what you are, then again, I think that's something about your university and your program.
So it's a reflection on them.
That's a reflection on them, because it's a disingenuous argument to say that you were ever competing with those big boys. Now, I will say a team that I think is maybe more that could speak out on that is someone maybe like, let's say like a Wisconsin. Or like a UCLA, perhaps, that maybe in the past, if you built a good program, you could go toe-to-toe for some of those kids, and you're going to struggle now to compete financially with the USCs and the Ohio States of the world. You're a big enough program where maybe you could get some of those 4- and 5-star kids, but financially, you're far behind, and you have to be smart with your resources. They're the ones that could bitch about NIL, I think, more so than the Washington States. The bigger one, and I think this is where he may have a legitimate argument, and I will listen. And I think it really has hurt the Washington States of the world, and I think it could hurt the Oregon States of the world, is the transfer portal. Because while the transfer portal can bring you a DJU, it can bring you a Cam Ward, and that certainly helps you out. I think a bigger danger going forward for schools like Washington State and Oregon State, especially if they don't end up in a Power 5 conference, is the open season on your athletes. And he is right that when that transfer portal opens on December 4th, from Cam Ward to any of their good receivers they have now, most of their good defensive players, their 2 defensive ends, Hicks, I think those guys are all seniors and they'll be gone anyways. Mm-hmm. But for Aiden Childs, for Damian Martinez, for guys like that, that's the one that's scary, because the bigger schools are going to come hunting for you. And in the past, the schools like Oregon State and Washington State could grow, develop from within, and you felt very comfortable about keeping your kids for 3 or 4 years. There is a real danger. That's the one that he has a real gripe about, is that if you have a breakout kid, it's harder and harder for those schools to keep them. The Jordan Addisons of the world that ended up winning the Biletnikoff at Pitt, those are the kids that are going to bolt for USC, and there's nothing that Pitt or Oregon State or anyone like that can do to keep those kids.
But isn't the flip side that there are more kids in the portal for them to go get?
Yes, but so while you can replace those, to me it does suck that the smaller schools can find the Rogers brothers, a Mike Hass. And again, I keep going down the Oregon State road just because we cover Oregon State more than we do Washington State. But, any of those kids, that are kind of homegrown, or you pluck them out of Texas and they're not really big name kids. Like the fact that Damian Martinez came back is freaking awesome. Kick ass. Does Damian Martinez come back this year? It's not like it's every year you're going to have to fend this off. Aiden Childs, is one of the best Beaver recruits that we've had in years here in Corvallis. There's going to be people coming hard at him. And I don't know the answer for that, other than, like you said, the transfer portal, you can go find some replacements. but it's hard to replace a homegrown kid that pops, and you would think that you had him for 3 to 4 years, and
look,
that's not the case anymore.
I wonder with Dickert if he is using this to preload his excuses when guys leave,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because he was 4-0 and he goes into his bye week and you have 2 ranked wins. Now, you're not supposed to have contact with other coaches, but if you know anything about football and recruiting, that's a load of what, because they're going to have communication with players and with other coaches. And I wonder if he's using this as a preload excuse to, he had a couple guys who are big name dudes who are playing well. They start getting calls. They start getting talked to. If you're in that locker room, guys are getting calls and guys who are getting talked to. And if that, created this like fissure in the team, and now they're split, right? So like if a guy like Cam Ward, he's starting to get calls already from a bigger name school, in the SEC or the ACC, he might already have one foot out the door. And so Dickert's going to use this as a jumping off point to say, well, I was 4-0 and then my guy started getting calls and now he's in the portal and now he's gone. And that's why I went 0-5. It wasn't my fault. It was my guys were already getting picked up in the transfer portal.
Well, he strikes me as somebody who will not, at least so far from listening to him talk about different things, I don't know that personal accountability is going to be at the forefront of any of his press conferences. No. And so to your point, Will, yes, it does seem like he's got some of these ulterior motives. Look, and maybe this is unfair. And Washington State, maybe, as you pointed out, is maybe is a very unique example, and it does specifically suck for them, considering they are no longer going to be Power 5. Them and Oregon State. I mean, that's a specific thing. So it's maybe a little unfair to pile on him, but he's the one who said it. I just think some are keeping up, some are not, just like before.
Yep.
And before we said basically you get out of your program what you put into it. It's no different now. If you aren't keeping up, you need to look in the mirror. Stop whining, get creative, raise some money. Look, Texas A&M backed up the Brinks truck, and they aren't any good.
Nope.
So what gives? I just, there's so much more to it than just pinning it on NIL. It just sounds like an excuse to me. And I don't know how long Dickert will be at Washington State, but it's not going well there.
No.
And Will may be right. When you start losing to Arizona State and Stanford, something's up in your program. You got something going on in the locker room.
Well, and that's what
you're losing the team.
And Will brought it up. If you're those kids at Washington State and you're already getting calls, some guys that that are playing down at UCLA, they're playing down in Arizona, and they're like, hey man, I don't know what's going on up there, but we got a spot for you here. And whispers start, floating around, and next thing you know, you got a locker room that's 1 foot out the door.
And again, he can use that as an excuse. But Washington State beat Oregon State.
Yeah,
Oregon State is in the same position that Washington State is in, and that didn't happen at Oregon State.
Nope. Yeah, you're right because
they're getting calls.
Yeah, they're both facing uncertain futures, and one of them is a top 13. What are they now?
Oregon State?
Oregon State,
they're 12.
12? One of them was a top 12 team in the country and is still fighting their ass off, and one rolled over
but just think about that game. That game was a huge game for Washington State in more ways than one, because you then took of all these calls that are coming in, people trying to poach your players, both Washington State and Oregon State because of their situation with the Pac-12, you just got a leg up on Oregon State by beating them.
Yeah.
So they should be in a worse position in this regard than you, and yet here we are 5 weeks later, and they're 7-2, and you're 4-5, and you're blaming it on maybe other coaches calling you. They were calling Oregon State's players, and that didn't happen to them.
I'll tell you what,
and they just lost to you.
One of the sneaky great jobs this offseason is that Oregon State's only lost Omar Speights, and that's a big blow, right? Omar Speights, damn good linebacker, stepped in, started at LSU. That's an NFL linebacker. But they did not lose the freshman of the year last year. They did not lose arguably the best offensive lineman in all of college football. There's 3 NFL offensive linemen at Oregon State this year, and none of them left. I mean, that's a hell of a job right there. That they were able to keep big time players that other schools were calling and looking to get some money. I mean, I think if you go to Texas as an O-lineman, I think it comes with a standard $50,000 just for showing up. The O-lineman at Texas is $50,000. You don't think You don't think they were calling Oregon State and being like,
Exactly.
hey, yeah, you at all? And Oregon State managed
So,
to keep them there. So yeah, it may be
Dickert
open
needs
season,
to
but
shut up.
you know,
He's a bitch.
recruit your guys.
How about that? What do
Jonathan
you think
Smith
about
did
that,
it.
Will?
I
He's a
would tend
bitch.
to agree with that.
Screw that guy. He's not any good anyway.
Goes to show you too. I do think that linemen are built a little different. I do think there is something to those guys at Oregon State having played together for multiple years and building something and feeling like you were on the precipice. I think it's harder maybe to pull out some of the big old linemen than it is a receiver or a running back or a quarterback. I think not.
You don't leave your boys.
It would be hard.
It's a group. It's a
Yeah.
chemistry. Most of those guys all live together.
Yeah.
You came in year one together. Those guys don't leave, and they're not really going to get like surprised with like, oh, sick, I can lay down in a bed in my locker room.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I know like money's hard to turn down, but I just, when my senior year at BYU going into that, like we had a really good O-line. I think 4 of us got at least a cup of coffee in the NFL. And Will's right. I mean, those guys, I had lived with half of them. I mean, the idea of picking up for $100,000, let's say, BYU was able to offer me, 40 to stay and somewhere else. Cause look, O-linemen aren't getting $2.5 million. Someone offers me $1 million. Thanks for coming. But $100,000 and the lease of a car, or 40 or 50 grand and get to stay with the guys that I battled with for 3-4 years. That's just, I don't know. I could never bring myself to do it.
Is Cam Ward Oregon's quarterback next year?
Well, hey, let's give some credit here too. No one is in love with Ty Thompson. Ty Thompson, when he has come in this year, has not looked bad. And I know it's mop up duty. Look,
but he's not their quarterback next year.
That's Stein. I think Stein is one of the more brilliant offensive minds right now in football.
All I'm saying is he has not looked.
Do you think Thompson's their guy next year?
He will not be the only guy. How about that? They will go tap a transfer portal kid. I'm just saying,
Cam Ward.
Don't write off Ty Thompson.
We won't. You heard it here first.
Aiden Childs.
What? Oh no! Oh, that's terrible.
If you
Aiden Childs to the Ducks.
If you wanted to go with the ultimate fork in the eye, by the way, enjoy the Mountain West. We'll see you in the Big Ten, and we'd also like your quarterback.
Do you think that? Okay,
that would be so dumb.
I have a dumb question.
Yeah,
but maybe it's not dumb.
Yeah,
is it like open season, or is that actually something that the Ducks and Huskies would mind? They would be like, let's steer clear of
it's open season.
This guy and maybe Childs is.
It's open.
A little too close to home.
It is open season.
Hey, is it open season?
Someone look. December 4th, and this is what Washington State and Oregon State with this whole lawsuit thing. I understand why you have to do it. I get it, because there's so much money in you're trying to keep the name alive so you can backfill the conference. December 4th, I believe, when that transfer portal's opens up, and you can't tell recruits and you can't tell your own kids where you're playing, who you're playing, what your TV payment is, any of that stuff. I am absolutely terrified for those two rosters.
All right, we got to go. In the news is standing by. We have a legend leaving the Portland airwaves next. Here is Will Ortner, Sports.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Today's election day. Did you know that?
I did know that. No NBA games. They on election day they're doing a don't go to games, go vote.
Yeah, big night tomorrow night.
Yeah.
NBA.
When they got a couple states, they got an abortion ban on the ballot. I know that's going around, making national headlines.
It's also Notary Public Day. Shout out to all you Notary Public out there.
Mary, our old HR lady, was my Notary Republic that
it's Notary Public.
Notary Public, not Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not her own country. She was great. She notarized a couple things for me over the years.
This might be a dumb question. Why would you need a notary? Like, I know it's on important things, but like what important things?
You need it like on certain documents. It can be financial or like if you're doing like power of attorney type stuff. Different stuff that you need to, like if you're signing something over to someone, there has to be a witness to it. So
what makes them a notary then? Do they have to go to notary
You have to get
school?
certified,
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have the little stamp.
Is it like a night class or something?
I don't know what all goes into being notarized, but it's a thing. And you have the little log book.
Yeah.
You have a logbook?
Yeah, you have to keep log of all the things that you. Well, because it all has to have a paper trail. Like it's all
Otherwise
legal stuff.
Yeah, like it's one of those things. Like if I granted you power of attorney, you could literally just take someone, put them in your basement, and then be like, well, he signed over his entire life to me. There needs to be a record that you can track back and be like, no, I watched this person sign it, and things like that.
They're like a third party that's like, yep, this is a fair agree, or this is they're agreeing to this.
Yes.
And I'm signing off on it.
Yeah, so you'll have it as you go on, and you don't need it when you're 20-something, but as you go on and you buy a house or you do different stuff with a will or whatever, all that stuff. Like if you made a will, I remember I did that. Like when you do a will or like your life insurance policy, where all that stuff goes, you have to have it notarized.
Oh, okay.
That way, if my kids rub me off and kill me, then you know.
We're also hearing from the texters, plural of notary public is notaries public.
Oh, all right.
Not notary publics.
Shout out to them.
It is. Oh yeah, I already told you. It's Election Day and Notary Public Day. A Pioneer Square Christmas tree arrives tomorrow. You guys excited? Is it too soon for some hot Christmas action?
Nah, you know my feelings on Thanksgiving. It's like, yeah, eat some turkey, whatever. Let's move on to the holiday season. Let's get going.
Yeah, I love this time of year.
Christmas time is people are in better moods and the music's better and,
Have you heard Christmas music yet?
Oh, 100%.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't. I have not.
You haven't heard any of the Christmas music?
Not yet.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's already
Why
popping
are
up
you
on
booing?
stations.
You can't do Christmas until after Thanksgiving.
Oh, you're one of those.
That's the rules.
Ryan Buckley's like you. You guys are the same. I like it all. I like a big, giant holiday season.
I have no problem listening to the Monster Mash in March, and I'll listen to my favorite Christmas carol in November if I feel like it. No issue with it.
I'm anti that. We celebrate Christmas too long. We celebrate Christmas like 10 months out of the year. Like let Thanksgiving do its thing.
Yeah, because Christmas is awesome.
Not
Peace on
everyone
earth,
celebrates
good
Christmas.
Peace on earth. Well, then Hanukkah, all that, winter solstice, whatever. Be a pagan. All I'm saying is, find me a time of the year where people are more generous, more caring to one another. People tend to pull the cob out of their ass. It's a better
Valentine's
vibe.
Day.
It's a better vibe out there
You're
for
right.
people.
He's right.
And I like that. I like the holiday spirit. If we all took a little bit of the Christmas spirit or the Hanukkah spirit, or again, whatever you celebrate, Christmas can mean whatever you want it to mean. If we took a little bit of that and we sprinkled it throughout the course of the year, we'd all be better off.
Hey, I've got big local TV news. I mentioned a Portland legend is leaving.
Yeah, I saw this. 34 years?
34 years, yeah. She started at KGW TV in 1989. The great Brenda Braxton is leaving the television.
That's crazy. 34
Yeah, she's
years.
been there a long time. She does mornings on KGW.
Yeah, it sounded like, she may have something going that she can't tell you about, but she just said she just was ready for a change, which normally means there's another opportunity that they can't talk about from contracts, but she says she's just walking away.
Yeah. I don't want to hear. I'm going to just hold on real quick here. I'm looking up. I don't want to out her age, but...
Well, I mean, I'm assuming she's been doing it for 34 years. Let's say she started when she was in her mid-20s. I mean...
Yeah, as beautiful as she is.
Okay, that's great.
Mid-50s?
She's 57. She's older than you think.
She looks great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she's wonderful. Love Brenda Braxton. She will be missed.
Yes.
Hard to replace.
Although she said she's not going to miss getting up at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's a rough get up time, man.
My neighbor does weather. He does morning weather.
Does he have to get up that early?
Yeah. Yeah, he's up at 2.
Man.
He's in bed right now.
That is. I don't think I could do that. I really don't.
It's a tough gig.
Yeah, I would absolutely hate that.
But, he's home by 10.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Stuff goes down at night,
What do you mean? Oh, you're missing everything?
Yeah, nothing's happening at 2 in the afternoon.
No, I hear you.
Stuff happens at
But
night.
you got Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah, but even then.
Well, then you gotta your body clock's all messed up.
Yeah.
Drink an energy drink.
And I like going. I like going out too much. It's like concerts and sporting events, and you get stuff.
All right, up next, we introduce you to the hot new Oregon Health Authority director.
Yeah, you talked about this yesterday.
Yeah.
And, I'd listen to her give me health advice.
Yeah, I think this starts a whole new. It's like Tina Kotek smart. Like, this is a whole new idea.
Hire hots.
Hire a bunch of hots. We'll listen to the hots.
You put a hot on a press conference,
Yeah.
instantly everyone's like,
We're glued to everything she
What's
says.
happening? She's dreamy.
She's very dreamy.
Yeah. Will, she's a young gal, too. You might want to pay
Yeah.
attention to this.
I have been paying attention since you said hot.
That's next on The Fan.
The home of Dirt and Spray.
We promised yesterday we will talk about the new Oregon Health Authority director. Her name is Dr. Sehal Hathi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Respect to this well-educated woman.
Yeah.
She is from Stanford. Well, she's not from Stanford. She lives in New Jersey. She's the deputy health commissioner for public health services in New Jersey.
She went to Stanford.
She went to Stanford. She has an MBA and an MD from Stanford. She is only 33 years old.
She's dreamy.
Very hot and very smiley and bubbly.
Got
she
a
is of
princess-
Indian to continuing this proud tradition and working with the team to make every community of the state a healthier place to live and meeting Isaac Robb.
Man, your reputation. You think that's why she came here from New Jersey? Word had spread?
Probably didn't hurt.
Someone was like, have you heard of this guy, Isaac Robb? He's in Portland.
Sports guy.
Yeah.
Her first day is January 16th. So
One day away from my birthday. Maybe she wants to meet me.
have we Googled? She didn't say that.
How do you feel about old Viking-looking fellas?
Guys, she wants the young Viking-looking fella.
It's possible. You
Yeah,
know?
you're not rich enough for her.
Well, she's got
I'd
money.
be the stay-at-home father.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Yeah. Will's there to raise the children.
Yeah, but don't you think she wants a,
No, I'm
Well,
proud
not
to
that
let
kind of
her
rich.
do whatever
It's
she wants to do.
2023, Rob. The woman can be the bread maker now.
Well, let me-
this is
That's
right up
right.
your
Has
alley.
anybody Googled her husband yet?
Is she married?
Currently working.
Why
on
does she
that.
have to be married? Look
Well,
at Rob just
she
being
is
a
married.
sexist bastard this entire time. Is she happily married? I think that's the key to this whole
Oh my
thing.
God, he's the founder
God damn it.
and CEO of global VC firm Amplo.
Crap.
What is that?
God.
It means he's got money.
Yeah, we've got no chance, guys.
No. We're out.
I wonder if he's moving here. He's probably like, yeah, I'm not moving to Oregon. Yeah, there he is right there.
Yeah, it's
All right. Well,
yeah, you're out.
nice catch.
Yeah, look, we had a
He's handsome too.
yeah.
He
Is
went
really tall,
to he went to Harvard.
or is she really short?
I think she might be really short.
Yeah, he looks. Yeah.
Oh, and again, he's a Harvard.
Look at us on air stalking them.
Look, he's a Harvard guy. He's rich. He's a CEO and founder of something. What do we got?
Yeah, she probably.
Well, you
hates
got a
him.
hat on backward for God's sakes.
Yeah, that's supporting women's fights against breast cancer.
Oh, hey, look,
That's right. I'm a feminist.
There's your in.
Actually, it is.
Yeah.
You think that's a joke? It's
No,
not.
he's-
It's,
yeah.
He has a
It
breast
is,
cancer
yeah.
hat on.
Go
too.
Hawks.
Well, anyway, she won't know what hit her when she gets here and listens to our show. So. Maybe he'll become a P1.
There you go. And then that's it's our roundabout way to get her on the program. Be like, look, we're really only interested in talking to your wife, but we'll talk to you in order to
Well,
facilitate this.
She's a nice hire, Tina.
Yeah.
Maybe Tina wants to,
I'm fairly certain that we may be the last show, with the exception of maybe Lars Larson, that Tina Kotek wants to come on.
Oh, no, I was talking about Tina hired her because,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, it's possible.
Tina's like, yeah.
I thought you were talking about Kotek coming on the program. And why won't she come on?
Tina
Let's go.
Kotek?
Let's go, Tina.
Do you think we could get Kotek on our show?
I think we should. I've got some ideas that I'd like to share with her.
She might once she finds out that I'm wearing a pink hat on here.
It's true.
And then I ambush her with Bon Voyage.
What if we put Ortner, Schultz, and Buckley on it
Just all
and see
just a
if
barrage.
well, no, I think it like a competition.
Let's see who gets
can get a
Kotek.
response first.
Well, who can get her on the show?
Yeah. Well, I got an
I don't
idea
care
who's
about a
going to get
response.
no first. Yeah, I say let's do this. I would love to talk to our fearless leader.
Me too.
Absolutely. Let's go.
So maybe we put Ortner on getting Ted Wheeler on. We put Schultz on getting Tina Kotek on.
Warner, who?
And then we
Who's
put
Ted Wheeler.
our Tear Gas Teddy,
Here
our
goes
mayor.
Teddy, come on.
He's the mayor still?
Yeah.
He's not my mayor. I live on the other side.
You work over here, though, Will.
I don't know who my mayor is either, though.
Who is the mayor of Vancouver? We've talked about this before.
Yeah, we have. I don't know. Someone
She
that
hot?
someone that didn't get tear gassed. I used to know the mayor. I don't know who the mayor is
Well,
anymore.
anyway, now we digress. But and then maybe we could put Buckley in charge of getting.
Maybe like Mingus Map.
Yeah.
What about Kroger?
Who?
Wasn't that the guy you used to have on here all the
Oh,
time?
John
he was
Kroger.
the attorney general.
Yeah, he's in the private sector now.
Yeah.
He got out of that. He was smart.
Anne McEnery Ogle is the mayor of Vancouver.
By the way, Scott Wamser is in P1 Moms.
Yeah, what's old Wamser up to?
He's offering $500 to anyone who gets Tina Kotek on our show.
I think it'd be great. You think Tina's got a good sense of humor? I hope so.
Maybe better than Kate Brown's.
Look,
Best sense of humor: Kate Brown, Ted Wheeler, Tina Kotek.
It's got to be Ted Wheeler, right?
You think he has a sense of humor?
I think he's got a sense of humor. I don't know if it's a good sense of humor, but I bet it's all right.
Boy, I don't know.
Tear gas Teddy, for God's sakes. You
Well,
know
that's
he's got a chuckle at that.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I would be stoked if our fearless leader sat across from us.
Oh, you mean now you're saying in studio?
Yeah, I don't want on the phone. No.
You keep.
If we're getting teens, I want her like right there. Come on. Can't get Kotek on the phone.
Dare to dream. We got to go. The Hot 5 at 5 is next on The Fan.
It's King LASIK's biggest savings of the year.
audacious
Oh, the Heisman campaign?
the Heisman banner.
Oh, why?
And I clicked on it.
And anything, just go to like a stat page or
Well,
something?
it took me to goducks.com.
Okay,
So I don't know if it was on there just because of that's my algorithm,
sure.
or if that's on there for everybody, but I thought that was cool.
Well, I mean, why, if you're talking about Heisman Trophy candidates, and I don't know whether he'll win or not. I mean, there's a lot of football left to be played, but like, let's say there's 4 to 5 finalists. It's not always that. There's not a set number. Find me 4 guys right now that are significantly better than Bo Nix.
Well, we'll have that exercise coming up a little bit later. In the club, we will talk about the Dwight Howard story. We have not talked about that yet.
Speaking of a Friday news dump, yeah, that thing kind of it didn't have a lot of legs.
Yeah, well, no one really cares,
Well, it's pretty interesting.
but this show does.
Did you see a photo of Kitty?
No, I haven't seen a photo of Kitty.
It's out there.
Well,
It's something.
and we will check in on the Missouri teacher who was forced to resign for having an OnlyFans. Yeah, don't feel sorry for her.
Oh, there they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's doing just fine.
She's doing just fine.
Anytime someone gets fired because of an OnlyFans
Well,
account,
she didn't get fired. She had to resign.
She had to resign. Just
But
Is this the same school one where they were
Yeah.
2 teachers
Yeah.
and they were hanging out together?
Yeah.
that I don't know.
There's one where they're both hanging out together.
just know that if you ever have to resign,
even
again,
better.
if you get fired because of an OnlyFans, never feel bad for that person because they are making tons of money.
Right now, it is time for the Hot 5 at 5.
Hot topics, hot opinions,
Oh, Charlie, I'm hot today.
and hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victorico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victoricos.com. Number 5.
Watching the Celebrity Pickleball Championships.
Yeah, that was on, but I flipped it over to the Red Wings game. But yeah, I was watching that earlier. Do we know what celebrities are playing?
Right now we have Scotty Scheffler and Jason Kidd against Dirk Nowitzki and John Isner. But Kidd, he's not coaching, is he?
No. Is this?
Wait.
No, Kidd
Yeah,
is.
he's with the Mavs.
Yeah, he's with the
so
Mavericks.
this must be taped, right?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not exciting.
Well, did you expect it to be exciting?
I did, because of all this hype around pickleball. Bill Self is now the highest paid basketball coach ever at a public school. Kansas amending his lifetime deal and giving him $53 million over the next 5 years.
Hey, and he can't be fired for any past indiscretions.
Boom.
Anything he put in there that any of the past, if something resurfaces with that, that's a no counties.
Yeah, you can't fire his ass. That dude. Well, remember, he didn't coach in the NCAA tournament. He had
some sort of
heart issue or something. I think he was close to saying, "Hey, I'm out of here," and they had to step up and
pony
like,
up.
"No, you're not out of here." That's what I think.
Well, he gave him a bunch of money and seemingly do whatever the hell you want card.
Oregon running back Bucky Irving was absent from the media viewing portion of practice today. Now, there is no word on what's up. And
Someone asked Dan Lanning this, and he can yell at you. Remember they had this with Dorless a
yeah,
little
he
bit
doesn't
ago.
like it.
No.
But Big Sook asked the tough questions here, so he will ask him on Thursday when he comes on our show. But remember, practice absence does not always mean game absence, as you mentioned, Dorless.
Yes, and just because you're not there at the part that people see doesn't mean you're not there at the other parts of it. So just.
However, Big Sook will ask Dan Lanning this on Thursday.
I'll be prepared to get yelled at.
Ducks hosting USC Saturday night, 7:30 in Autzen, where it never rains. But it rained.
It's supposed to rain on Saturday?
I don't know.
I think that benefits Oregon if it does.
Titans dub Will Levis QB1 moving forward. Ryan Tannehill will be the backup. Carson Wentz signs with the Rams. Brett Rippon released. I just want to point out Carson Wentz's overall record as a starter is a winning record.
Yes.
And he has 151 tutties to just 66 interceptions in his NFL career.
You know, I know it didn't end well in Indianapolis, but his numbers weren't terrible.
He wasn't that bad in Indy.
No, it was kind of a meltdown
That was
there.
the season where they lost to the Raiders. Remember that they blew that game against the Raiders, or they were going to the playoffs.
Yeah. So I'm a little surprised. There is some, there's people that say he's not a good locker room guy and the players don't like him. It's the only thing I can think of, because when you look at some of the bad quarterback play that's out there, it's kind of amazing that it took now for someone to go get Carson Wentz and that it wasn't the New York Jets.
Wide receiver Martavius Bryant signs with the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm looking here, yeah, like his quarterback rating, remember he was in Washington, but his quarterback rating with the Colts was 94.
Yeah.
His quarterback rating with Washington in like 6 or 7 games was an 80. Like, he's not
that bad.
He's not that bad.
The Timbers have introduced new coach Phil Neville. After stints in Miami and Spain, he wants to bring an up-tempo attacking style. Timbers Army asked the team to rethink its decision after his old tweets surfaced. Now, have you read what he tweeted?
I have not seen his old tweets. I just saw that we're up in arms.
Okay, the first one read, "Just battered the wife. Feeling better now?"
Okay, so clearly he's just making a bad joke.
Yeah, I mean, he tweeted that in 2011. The next year, he tweeted "Morning Men" as part of a message to his followers. When people asked him why he didn't include women, he wrote, "Because I thought women would have been busy preparing breakfast, getting kids ready, making beds. Sorry, morning women."
Oh my God. So we're going back of something that happened, 12 years ago? And
Yeah.
Please stop.
Yeah. Well, they hired him anyway. That's your coach.
All right. I'm more of a Thorns fan, but
Who's their coach? You don't even know who their coach is.
Fred Manfredson.
Come on, dude.
Who is their coach?
I know their star player is Morgan Weaver.
I thought it was that Sophia.
I know about Morgan Weaver. She's pretty good.
Michael Norris.
Wait a minute. Are we breaking some news here? Are you dating a Thorns player?
If I can speak that into existence with Miss Weaver, I would love to.
Sophia, what's her?
Sophia Smith was the MVP
she's
last year.
Yeah.
She's the star of the team.
And who's the coach?
Michael Norris.
Are you sure?
Yeah, right here.
College football playoff rankings, week 2. Nothing changes in the top 8. Oregon is 6th, Washington 5th. That is the Ducks' 21st top 10 college football playoff ranking all time. The top 4, again, no change. Ohio State 1, Georgia 2, Michigan 3, and Florida State 4. Michigan has probably the toughest game this weekend as they play at Penn State, who comes in at number 10.
But having watched Penn State, I think we can all admit that, Michigan should be just fine.
Right on the Ducks' heels are Texas at 7 and Alabama at 8. Ole Miss is 9. Now, they play Georgia this week, so that's a tough game for the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Louisville is 11. Oregon State checks in at 12. And, hey, Arizona is in the college football playoff rankings at number 21 this week.
I'm telling you, that's a good little story down there with old Jed
That
Fish.
is a good story because I think one, nobody really wanted him as a head coach.
No.
They hired him anyway. And then 2, it kind of seemed like it was really, really bad there when he took over.
Yeah, it was. And it was kind of viewed as a dead-end job. And
what a good coach.
Yeah, and the Washington game wasn't that close. But
well, how about the USC game? They lose in 3 overtimes.
Yep.
If they win that game, they're 7-2.
Yeah. And, so that he's done a really nice job. And that's a team right now. I mean, looking down the stretch, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona State, they can finish this thing out 3-0. And that's a hell of a year. The question is, can Arizona afford to keep him? I saw that, I guess the university president had a meeting with all the staff today and said that there were staff budget cuts coming that were going to be, it was like shocking. It was like apocalyptic or something, like a really doom and gloom sort of thing. And so some people were pointing out that, that may not be the best thing to hear when, your coach is kind of having a breakout year and other people may be sniffing around.
An Odyssey station.
Victor Rico's Mexican Food brings you the Hot 5 at 5, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Order now at victorricos.com. Let's get into some NFL. How the hell did Josh Dobbs do that? We'll get into that next on The Fan.
Oregon.
Now it gets dark at 5 o'clock.
It's awesome. So cool leaving the studio and just having it be dark, rainy, and cold. Love it.
Well, to some NFL real quick, and then we'll get back to the college football playoff rankings. But there are a lot of impressive things in Week 9. The Ravens were certainly impressive, dismantling your Seahawks.
Yeah.
The Raiders rebounding was quite something.
Although when you're playing against Tommy DeVito,
Fair.
Although they scored, I think 4 out of their first 5 drives were touchdowns, so that kind of put the game out of whack. And then you see one of the Giants captains, one of the defensive captains, was saying that, no one is listening to us, and that's kind of the reason why we're falling apart. It's not good when you got defensive captains calling out coaches. The Giants thing may be crumbling right before our very eyes.
Yeah, I think Daboll. I think the shine has.
Yeah, they tried to do the oh no, we've talked it over and everything's cool. Is it?
CJ Stroud was amazing.
Yep.
But probably nothing more impressive than Josh Dobbs.
Hadn't taken a snap once with the Minnesota Vikings, and he goes out and puts up 31 and beats the Falcons.
Now, he didn't start, right?
No.
Jaron Hall
did, and then Hall...
he got a concussion.
Yeah, he was like 5 of 6 and just kind of dunking his way downfield, and then got his head bounced off the ground, and in comes Dobbs because he'd only been there 4 or 5 days, hadn't taken a snap in practice, so he was just there as the backup. They were going with Jaron Hall, rookie out of BYU, and in comes Josh Dobbs.
By the way, text message on the Vancouver Ford text line. Any Falcons fan saw that coming the day Dobbs was traded, which is hilarious. Yeah. Okay, but this confuses little pea-brain sports guys like me.
Yeah.
Because we are always told, oh, how complicated this position is.
Yep.
It's so deep, and the terminology and all the things that these guys must know. How on earth can you explain that he goes in without ever having practiced with that team and leads them to a win?
It's pretty crazy.
How does that happen?
Yeah, sometimes simplifying everything, and when you don't have film on a guy, and look, not like Atlanta's a bunch of world beaters too, but sometimes when you just simplify things, this old, KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Okay, so how simple do you have to go then?
Very, very,
very. In my head, he's like playing pickup football.
No, it's not.
So how do you get it to where?
Well, Dobbs has been around the league a little bit, so a lot of times in football, it just comes down to a terminology thing. I mean, concepts are relatively the same.
Yeah, but he knows none of their terminology.
No, which is why I said you go off of, you do have the ability, you have wristbands, you have the ability to talk to him in his ear.
Okay, wristband. Okay, that's a good one.
And you walk through. So basically, and by the way, if you noticed, look, I'm taking nothing away from Josh Dobbs, who, by the way, is one of the smartest players in the league. I think that helps as well. I mean, the guy literally is like a rocket scientist.
My wife thinks he's hot.
Really?
Yeah.
The no eyebrows thing does it for her? I saw Viking fans were shaving off their eyebrows.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the guy.
He's the guy.
No, she thinks he's handsome.
Oh, well, I see that. He's a dashing individual. He looks like who was the other guy that had the alopecia? Yeah, Charlie Villanueva was the other guy that had that.
Alopecia?
Yeah, I think that's what it is, right? Where you have no body hair whatsoever. Very smooth. Which,
like me.
Got that going for you. He was only, I think he went 20 of 30 for like $158. So which tells you they aren't pushing the ball downfield. So my guess is when they went into outside of run plays, you probably had 1 or 2 checks, and as far as at the line of scrimmage, hey, if they're giving us a loaded box, you're checking to 1 or 2 plays, and my guess is you were on a 1, possibly a 2 read system. You're like, this is your first read. If not, we're checking it down. Or you went in with Dobbs and you said, what concepts are you used to? Like, what did you call this? What are the 3? What are the 3 or 4 concepts that you like? This is what we call them. You put a reminder on the guy's wrist, but you really are playing with a very, very neutered offense to the point where they were saying on the sidelines when Hall got hurt, they got the offensive line together and everyone, and they were working on cadence.
Yeah, right. Because they don't know how snaps the ball.
That seems like kind of a dumb thing, but like cadences, especially if you're an O lineman, it can be really wonky when you get in and everyone has a different one. And because a lot of times it's just gibberish. You're like that. And if you don't know someone's, you're getting dumb offsides penalties. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing that they went out and did what they did, especially with the fact that it was very, very limited with what they could put out there. But we've seen this before where Baker Mayfield, I think, did this one year, like with the Rams. I mean, we've seen it before where if you're a guy that's been around the block, you couldn't do that with a rookie. But a guy that's a vet that's been around, that's a smart guy, you can come up with a makeshift game plan.
Here's what Dobbs said after the game.
If you could hear the headset, there was a lot going on, a lot of jumbleness. As I'm communicating, he's communicating to me. We had a lot going on. But it's great. Obviously, Kevin played quarterback, so he knows what I'm going through. So he's able to communicate effectively, like, hey, like this is what you're looking at. This is what you have on this side of the page. This is what you have on this side of the page. He's able, talking lingos that I've come from to be able to simplify it for me. There you go. And then from there, obviously, it's just go out and play. But I thought the communication was awesome.
So he's saying O'Connell did know his old. Well, they did have 5 days.
Yeah.
Right. So he hadn't practiced with them, but he was with them.
Yeah.
Which they obviously spoke about. What Dobbs' terminology was.
Because like I said, I mean, with the exception of like what Shanahan runs with McDaniel, like some of that stuff is really quite complex. But even to that, like in the run game, dude, I don't know what Will called it, but dude, Power King is Power King. Whether you're calling it King or whether you're calling it G, whether you're calling it Wham, whether you're calling it Blast. Run plays, you don't reinvent the wheel.
Well, even nowadays, it's even more simple than that. Most of the time, you have a code word. So, like, I knew when I played in college, Clemson meant dive. And then they would just say hot or cold. Hot, right, cold, left.
Yeah.
So it's even more simple than Power King or, Run G. It's just, hey, it's Clemson. Okay, that's a dive.
So you may have a route tree. And again, that's when he points out, he's like, hey, this is what you have on this side. My guess is it was half field reads. But that's the beauty part of having an in-ear communication is you can tell them, hey, we're running number 3 on the wristband, which you can read off in the huddle to everybody because Dobbs isn't reciting the play call. Like that's not a thing. You don't learn that in 5 days.
So he can walk him through it.
So he's in his ear saying, hey, we're going with 2-jet, 323 XY stick. Whatever, and then that's what Dobbs is going to call off the wristband. And then in his ear, he's telling him, hey, you're going to have a 12-yard in here, you're running a skinny post on this side, and your safety valve is your back out in the flat.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I think it reflects really positively on Kevin O'Connell, too.
Well, and also to remember, O'Connell was a quarterback.
Yeah, that's what he just said.
Yeah, and that's what he was saying. And I think that probably goes a long way, too, of like, hey, if this was me and I'm being thrown into the deep end of the pool, what do I need to know?
Yeah.
To kind of give you a safety net for each play. Without the helmet communication,
right?
That would be
almost impossible, wouldn't it?
It would be really, really hard.
It'd be like, hey, you go deep, you.
That would be more Sandlot football.
Draw it up on the palm of the hand there, like we used to do. Here's Dobbs after the game talking about his teammates.
Oh, don't even start. I probably. If we had to pull up a roster, I had to go names, I'll be a bad teammate today. Yeah, I knew Alex. I knew a lot of first names. Alex, Brandon. I know like a lot of nicknames per se. But yeah, names. That's for this week. That's an assignment for this week. So
if I were him, I would have just thrown it up to Justin Jefferson. Oh, wait, he's hurt.
He's hurt.
Yeah,
so it'd be Jordan Addison.
Or Addison.
Or
that
Hawkinson.
one, the one to Addison on the sideline was.
Yeah.
Did you see that catch? Dude, that guy.
Jordan Addison has made himself a nice little season here. With Jefferson being out, Addison has raised his game.
Yeah, he's awesome.
You'd almost think that he won like the Blitnikoff Award or something.
Like Mike Hass.
Well, he went to USC and kind of had a little bit of a year.
He was hurt. He missed like 3 or 4 games.
But it's the same thing. Dorian Singer, the big Arizona receiver, went to USC this year and thought he was going to go be all-world, and he's been kind of it's a buyer beware. And who's the other kid that came over? Mario Williams from Oklahoma. A lot of the transfer receivers that have come to USC thinking like it's going to be, the land of milk and honey. Hasn't been that great. Just FYI for any receiver thinking about going to play in that system.
All right, up next, Friday news dump, and it worked. Here is Will.
Now,
we had a big Monday night football game last night.
Sure.
The NBA has started, but there's nothing tonight because it's election night.
Yeah.
We do have
Maction.
Buffalo's playing Ohio. And I was just sitting here going, man, I know nothing about these teams or this game.
There's
but
like 9 people in the stands.
I kind of want to know. You know? It's like I was thinking, because I do dislike, I'm such a sports dork that I do dislike the nights where there's just nothing football-wise.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, we have the stupid Panthers and Bears. Like, can you believe that's the Thursday night game? So I really like some sports
to
choose from. So if we were into Maction, do you think that would be?
It probably would, but there's no way you could ever be into Maction. You ever have something in your life where
I don't know. Gambling.
It's not gonna work, man. You ever had something in your life where you tell like I'm gonna learn Spanish, or you're gonna pay attention to whatever, like. You're like, oh, I'm going to do this. And you never do. I'm going to learn to play the guitar. I'm going to learn Spanish. I'm going to watch, I'm going to get into Australian rules football. Like you just make a decision that you're going to follow something. You never do. You would get into Maction and it would last all of a week and a half. And then you'd go right back to being like, why am I caring about this? Something else would happen.
Well, there is a reason to care about it though. And that's because it's on Tuesday and Wednesday nights.
Yeah. It's not happening, dude.
And there's nothing else on.
You can't artificially make yourself care about something.
A lot of big gamblers do.
Yeah, I was going to
it's
say
something to bet on, right?
Right.
You've got to really, really be into gambling. Like it has to be your lifeblood.
Kind of am. All right, so here
watch hockey with me. Come on, we got the Red Wings, and we're relevant.
Now that
for the first time in a decade, we're relevant.
To your point of you can't just tell yourself you're going to like something. Yeah. Hockey. I give you hockey.
Yeah, you can't.
Football, I like.
Yeah. But the Maction? Yeah. Well, that's the same thing. Would you would you bet on high school football?
Yeah.
I don't think you would.
Let's do it.
You can bet on the Special Olympics now.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
I'm not touching that.
Yeah. Well, you're a gambling man. Huh? You want to bet on some Special Olympics races? Because that's a thing now.
I don't really like track and field or whatever.
They've got all the sports.
I like football.
You want to talk about...
I want to bet on football. I'll take Jesuit. Lay the
this year. I wouldn't.
Oh, are they bad this year?
Wesleyan.
Oh, damn. Okay. Well, I'll take...
Jesuit's good, but...
What would the line be if Jesuit played Wesleyan? And by the way, does anybody do that? Does anybody put out lines for high school games?
They do down...
Florida.
I think that's a Florida, Texas thing. They bet on like little kid football down there. Like you can go to like a Pee-wee football game. A Pop Warner game, and there's action happening in the stands, and then someone gets shot because of it.
Here's what I'm going to do. I've got it.
Yeah.
I'm going to become a bookie, but only for Maction and high school football. I will take bets on Maction and high school football. So that our Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday nights are
Jeez.
They're interesting.
I so want you to make this attempt. And I'm just telling you, it'll never happen.
It'll be fun. Yeah. So the Friday news dump this past Friday. See, this is why it's Tuesday at 5:40.
Yeah, and we're just now
getting to it. I put it in my notes because I saw it. I'm like, ooh, that's probably bigger than it's going to get written up because it happened on a Friday late afternoon. But Connor Stallions, the Michigan Spygate guy, he resigned.
He resigned and isn't speaking.
And he put out a statement.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's not cooperating with.
Well, that's also a big news story.
Any investigation, he's like, no.
He refuses.
Yeah.
Which is probably smart because they know they have him dead to rights.
Well, he's done with coaching. He can't. I mean, unfortunately for that dude, his career is over. He's untouchable.
But this says, so this came out about 5:30 on Friday. It says University of Michigan staffer Connor Stallions has resigned. He has refused to cooperate with any internal or external investigations or discussions. Stallions' attorney, Brad Beckworth, told The Athletic on Friday that earlier reports of Stallions being fired were false and that Connor is thankful that the university corrected that false narrative tonight.
They bribed him.
As he informed the school earlier today, Connor chose to resign because recent stories regarding him with the University of Michigan have created a distraction for the team. He hopes his resignation will help the team and coaching staff focus on tomorrow's game and the remainder of the season. Connor always wants to make it clear that, to his knowledge, Neither Coach Harbaugh nor any other coach or staff member told anyone to break any rules or were aware of improper conduct regarding the recent allegations of advanced scouting.
So they just thought that he was standing by the coordinators with the other team's play sheets and he got those how?
Well, it's just advanced scouting.
It's just advanced scouting. I want to know how much they paid him. Because remember, Greg Anderson, the Barry Bonds guy, he went to prison not once, but twice for Barry Bonds.
Well, Bonds paid him to go to prison?
Yeah, Bonds paid him and just say, hey, you shut your mouth.
Because he had the goods, huh?
He had the goods. And old Connor's got the goods too. And something tells me they just pulled Connor aside and he was like, dude, my career is over. And they're like, we understand that, but
here's $5 million.
Here's a nice severance package. And you just shut your mouth. And then, by the way, when this all comes out, understand that we're going to have to bury you. He pulled a succession. Someone's going to have to take the fall on this. And my man Connor, it's going to be you. But don't worry. We're going to take care of you. You always got a place at Michigan, but we can never acknowledge you.
So then he issued a statement, and he said, I love the University of Michigan and its football program, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity I've had to work with the incredible student athletes, Coach Harbaugh, and the other coaches that have been a part of the Michigan football family during my tenure. I do not want to be a distraction from what I hope to be a championship run for the team, and I will continue to cheer them on.
Yeah.
That's it.
He will go back to selling discount vacuums.
He was a Marine. He'll go back into the military.
Yeah, he was he was a Marine. He was in the Navy. And then have you seen his vacuum thing that he had going on?
No, but maybe he could join the Coast Guard.
So
they're military, I hear.
That's right. Big Coast Guard guys. He got a house in Ann Arbor. He got like a $500,000 house in Ann Arbor.
Where's he from?
I don't remember where he's from.
The Great Plains.
But I also wonder how he bought a $500,000 house on his $50,000 salary. So he got this house in Ann Arbor, and then his HOA filed a suit against him. You can't make this stuff up. It's freaking nuts. And so his HOA sued him because there's a photo of his house. Look it up. There's like 100 vacuums on his front porch. So apparently he would go to Michigan. He would scout. He would do all his legal scouting. Then he would come home and he would fix vacuums and then sell them on Amazon as refurbished. And by the way, I guess he had like a crappy Amazon rating. It was like 2.8. A bunch of people were unhappy. They're saying the vacuums didn't work. And he, in the lawsuit against him by the HOA, he claimed it was all a sinister plot by one of his neighbors who was a Michigan State fan that was using the lawsuit to distract him from his Michigan job.
That's my favorite thing about this whole Michigan thing.
You can't make that up.
Well, aren't they now saying that Ryan Day, the Ohio State coach, has private investigators?
It's his brother.
His
brother is the private investigator that has been investigating this entire thing.
So good.
I love that Michigan's defense, by the way, is it's Ohio State's fault for pointing this out.
Well, they're now saying, Michigan is now saying that
other
Big Ten teams had their signs. So what's the big deal?
Well, the big deal is, again, Michigan, no one's denying that other people have signs. What you can't do is send other people to other teams' sidelines and film it. Like
it's called advanced scouting, Jace.
With their spy glasses. Have you seen some of those pictures of him on the sideline?
With the blue light on it?
Fantastic.
I love it.
Dude, this stuff's nuts. Apparently, he's from Michigan. He's from Lake Orion, Michigan.
Okay. Well, just know that if you're buying a Amazon vacuum from Mr. Stallions, it may not work because he's got a lot of complaints.
Hey, Will, I got a proposition for you. Let's say you're the Connor Stallions of Oregon.
Of Oregon?
Yeah.
I got to get paid a lot more than what I'm getting paid right now.
Well, I know. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, yeah.
They're going to offer you. They're going to say, hey, we want you to do this. You're going to be our Connor Stallions, and you're going to take the fall, but we're going to make it worth your while. You doing it?
Well, I got to know what the number is first.
Well, I said $5 million.
It's probably not $5 million, but I'll bet you
$2 million.
I'll bet you he got $1 million or $2 million to go away.
Maybe $1 million.
Honestly, if you gave me $1 million and a house, I'm in.
But you're never going to work in that field again, and
I don't want to work as a coach. That sucks. Do you know what they have to do? They have to pay guys like Connor Stallion to go sit in the stands with blue light glasses on. Like, that's ridiculous. No, thank you.
I just love everything about the story. And
it's just nuts.
Every day there's a new detail that comes out that makes me so happy. But when I saw the photos of all the vacuums on his porch, the idea that he is a coach at Michigan and then he comes home at night and fixes vacuums, I love that. I absolutely love it.
Well, do we think that Michigan will be so I think I asked you this the other day. Michigan will be in the college football playoff.
Yes.
But Jim Harbaugh won't be their coach.
I think there's a real chance that Harbaugh gets suspended.
for the rest of this
rest of the season. I do. I think they're in some trouble. I don't think that
Yeah, they're going to fight that legally.
They are. There is going to be a real battle here. But I just think there's too much. And I'll bet you that there's some smoking guns they have that we don't even know about. I mean, it sounds like every other university is coming out of the woodwork to be like, look, these cheating bastards, here's all the stuff we got on them. So I don't think you can suspend Michigan. And I don't think it's fair to those players. They didn't do anything. But the coaches, I'll bet you there's going to be a fine, and Michigan's going to get dinged, whether it's recruiting stuff, whether it's fines. But I ultimately think that Harbaugh is going to get suspended again.
And do you think? And I assume the players knew then, right?
Yeah.
The
players, I bet you the players didn't know about the the lengths they were doing. The players just knew that the signs had been stolen.
They had the signs,
but a lot of places have signs. I don't think that the players had any idea that it was to this level.
A lot of places have signs stolen, you mean, or have signs from the other team?
Yes.
But they just didn't know the lengths to which.
Yeah, because Michigan's now doing their other defense besides Ohio State ratted us out, which is not a defense at all. Their one that they're leaking now, I think Nicole Arbach had it today, where Michigan is like, hey, look at these documents. These are other teams that had our signs. And they're like, yeah, like we figured out your signs just like everyone else did. We did it the old-fashioned way, which is what you're supposed to do, not going down the spy versus spy road. So Michigan is trying to now do everyone does it.
We used to use huddle. If the huddle cam was pointed, like the sideline cam was pointed towards the other team, we would try and use that to figure out signs.
Is that legal?
Everyone has huddle, and everyone gets those those videos. They send them to you.
Yeah, I guess I guess that is legal because all that video sharing.
Thing. Yeah, TV copies and all that.
If you can see it, you can try to decipher it.
And I think that's the point where everyone's pissed off is like, hey, dude, we're all doing it one way, and you went ahead and went full on jackass and just jumped the shark Fonzarelli style, and they're pissed about it. So, everyone keeps saying that Colin keeps saying that there's no story here. Keep telling yourself that because the Big Ten and the NCAA disagree. Like, we can sit up here and yell and scream about how this is a nothing burger and everyone does it. Not everyone's in trouble, and not everyone has coaches resigning, and not everyone has the Big Ten putting out a notice of allegations against you, let alone the NCAA. So there will be punishment.
This is a tough one for me. Like if I were a Michigan fan, it's like, it's one of those things where you just hope your school isn't doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
And then you find out that they are, and you're like, damn, you have no defense. You're like, damn it.
No, they got him.
What do I do?
They got him dead to rights.
I guess I'll just keep rooting for him.
Yeah. Now it's just a matter of
hopefully they win a title.
Well, it's like the Houston Astros. The Astros got caught red-handed, but they won a World Series, and so everyone hates you, but you don't care because you won a World Series. So
yeah, I feel like Astro fans, the ones that I know have talked to, they don't really care that they I don't know. They're doing some pretty big mental gymnastics.
Sure, and believe me, Michigan fan will do that. Well, and now the Michigan players are saying that they're embracing the villain role, which I love. That they're like, well, if everyone wants to paint us as the bad guy, hey, dumbasses, you were doing this. Like, no one's painting you as the bad guy. You painted yourself as the bad guy. So, whatever you need to rally the troops, I'm all for it. And the good thing about this going forward is in the meaningful games coming up here with Michigan, whether it's against Ohio State and in the Penn State and then Ohio State, and then if they make the college football playoff, that all this stuff stops. So, Michigan's got a way to just shove it up everyone's keister, and that is now go win it fair and square. Because there are a lot of people that point out that before this whole implementation of the sign stealing thing, Michigan wasn't doing so hot. And Michigan was getting their ass kicked by Ohio State, and people were talking. Jim Harbaugh had to take a contract reduction to keep his job. And then, look, I think it's a little ridiculous to think that this is the reason why Michigan's program, rose up, and just because of this, but it does coincide with it. And so a lot of people are going to speculate about it. And Michigan has a chance here to give everyone a big old S-burger by going out and whooping everyone's ass, winning a national title, and being like, hey, we didn't need signs to do this, cram it. And if you lose and fall on your face, well, then be prepared because everyone's going to throw a bunch of shade at you and you deserve it.
All right, way over. We'll come back and wrap up the hour next on The Fan 553.
It's time for a Ducks Report.
servicepatriots.com/thefan. Deal is in. He says, hey, Michigan fans had to do some major mental gymnastics to make their point, while Michigan State had their own issues with gymnastics. Maybe what Michigan did wasn't so bad in the long run.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
I forgot about that. They're both battling it, aren't they?
Oh, gosh.
Up there.
Michigan State stepped in it multiple times.
What's going on in Michigan?
I mean, we all imagine the mental gymnastics of the Indiana Hoosiers and God, the Red Wings are getting their ass kicked. Sorry.
Last I looked, it was 1-0.
Yeah, it was 1-0.
Now it's 4-0.
It's actually 5.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Your goalie sucks.
What is happening right now, for God's sakes?
Boo his ass!
That's right. Piece of garbage. But
You piece of garbage.
With imagine being like an Indiana fan and having to do that with Bob Knight. That was your coach. Penn State's got some of that, obviously, with Joe Paterno.
Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor and Art Briles. They didn't want to fire Art. I don't know. I don't have any sort of. Are you that way with Kansas? Do you think you would do that?
Do what?
Look, I'm not saying the bill self, whatever, who cares? The ticket thing. I'm talking about something bad.
Like sexual abuse, bad.
Bad stuff in programs. I'm not trying to say it was everybody, but I remember the Luke Heimlich thing at Oregon State, and I didn't think that would come from Beaver fan. And boy, you want to talk about some mental gymnastics that some, not all Beaver fans threw out there. And it's is that every fan base?
I think it's just it's human nature. So there will be a section of that person in every fan base, no question.
So if you had a Kansas basketball bill self, it turned out that they were doing an Art Briles sort of thing, and you had a bunch of allegations, and look, Self knew about it obviously and was kind of sweeping it under the rug or whatever. Would you?
No, I'd have a real hard time with that.
Right?
Yeah.
And he stuck around I couldn't do it. I honestly couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think I would just become less of a fan.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you have a healthy relationship with your team and not an unhealthy one.
Yeah, that or just, it's people, when we talk about mental gymnastics, it's just human nature to kind of talk yourself into a pretzel and make yourself feel better about something.
I think one of the hardest things that people have, what am I trying to say? One of the toughest things that people have to do in this world is admit that something that they loved wasn't good, to say that I was wrong, I was fooled. I think we really, really struggle with that, whether it's political leaders, whether it's sports, whether it's church.
I think that's right.
I came from a church background and struggled with a lot of the stuff that the church, and eventually it got to the point where I was like, I refuse to do these mental gymnastics anymore. It just doesn't work for me. But people I think about this with the Catholic Church, or like I said, your political party or whatever, your school, the Penn State thing, that you will blindly just look at overwhelming evidence and be like, nope, Penn State football no matter what, Baylor football no matter what. Oh, the church isn't all bad. It's just the leaders, covered up sexual abuse for, 80 years. That just baffles me, as opposed to simply saying, hey, with the information I had at the time, this is what I went off of. But now, in light of the new stuff, I can't get behind it, and so I'm going to go find something else. That, for whatever reason, in human nature, is we just struggle with that. Is it because we feel like we got fooled, and if we admit that, we feel like a dupe, or what? I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's very true. I think some of it is people just can't. Well. Oh, man, that's so complicated. I think there's just a lot of things going on there. But
walking away from something as seemingly as silly as sports, or as serious as church, or, like I said, the political thing or family, it's
just easier not to be honest.
Yeah.
Right? It's just easier.
Yeah.
You can tell yourself X, Y, and Z, and it's just, it makes it better because you don't have to face the reality of, truth.
Yeah. Well, and family can be another one like this. How many people know that have just beyond toxic relationships with their family, and then they're like, well, what am I supposed to do? They're my family. I'm like, dude, not talk to them? Just, you don't have to simply because they're your family. And people are like, nope, have to. They're my family. it just like that. It's another one of those things. There's a handful of those things in this
I
world.
also think there's a disconnect. I think a lot of people just don't have much sympathy or empathy for victims if they don't know them.
Yeah.
So to them, it's just like, what? Who cares?
Really?
People do that. Yeah. Man. Oh, I think that's a thing.
Boy, that is, I don't know, like that's even sadder. That goes back. I think that's even worse than just not wanting to face something yourself.
Well, people do it all the time. Look at this. I mean, not to get too crazy here, but look at this war.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to see the worst of human nature, just how humans can be. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. You
and
are
people
right.
are doing things in the name of what they believe, right?
Yeah.
They are not thinking about the worst things you could do, but they are not thinking about human. It's just another human being, just like you. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about what they believe. So I don't know.
I guess maybe I mean, we all do mentally. You're right in that we all do it from time to time with different things. I guess I'm just surprised, I guess, to the level at which we're willing to go over seemingly. Like, I would think sports would be such a silly thing that it would be really hard to do, and yet I feel like with sports we do it maybe more so than
I think
anything.
College sports, definitely. College sports is tribalism at its finest.
Yeah. Well, high school, and this is what started that whole thing with Camus and me, was I think high school gets even creepier than that, because like you get these little weird small towns and they build their entire identity around a high school football program, and they'll be good and damned if anyone is going to do anything to take the gloss and shine off of their beloved whatever.
All right, we got to go. The club is next. We're going to start with the Dwight Howard story we've yet to cover, but we have courage today. We will cover it next on The Fan. tribalism and S.
That whole thing. Look at us getting serious.
Well, I mean, it is a thing for me. Call me a snowflake, but
Oh, you freaking liberal snowflake.
I don't really understand how
Liberal
people
BS.
can treat each other the way people are treating each other in the world, I don't really get it.
That's because humans are terrible.
I don't understand it. I know, and they've always been terrible.
Have you ever seen chimpanzees, man?
Yeah, I get it.
We're just hairless chimps.
But if we go back to, let's just, give me an era. Let's go back. Were there people like me who were sitting around going, like, go back to, like, ancient Greece?
Yeah.
Were there still people that are like, what is this? Why are these people doing
I
this?
think there probably was a few of them, but back then...
Or was everyone just like a
I think it was a lot...
rape-hungry...
I think it was a lot harder back then. Believe it or not, yeah, like it's...
Like you just we were so primitive that it's like, I want to kill you.
Yes.
I'm going to kill you with my high T.
I think it was a lot harder to be socially conscious and be a good person.
No, but even in your mind though, like you were. Like was everyone just... Were people... Okay, the question is people have always sort of thought the same.
Yes, we're a very violent people.
Yes, but were there always people that just were violent because that's what society was at that time? And in their head, they weren't really violent. They're like, why am I... This doesn't make any sense. I don't like this. This doesn't feel right. But they did it because that's just what...
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Not
Like-
everyone's the same. Yes, and I think we are... I mean, they've done studies of this, like the tribalism and, we go along with the crowd, the mob mentality.
Well,
But-
there used to be a lot of real things on the line,
Yes.
like your life or land or your livelihood, whatever. Not to say that there isn't now and people fight and kill each other, but it's just, I don't know.
Well, I mean, and like there were religious types. And
I don't really understand humans.
Well, and I think there's a lot of people that think that was the whole reason religious was, if religion was invented in the first place was that you could have some order and we didn't just go to our most visceral fight or flight sort of things.
Yeah, but if I'm born in Alabama, I'm Christian. If I'm born in Israel...
Yep. You're Jewish. And if you're born in
Exactly.
Gaza, then you're Palestinian.
Exactly. So what does that say? What does that tell you?
It
just depends on where you're born.
It depends on where you're born.
I don't know. None of it makes any sense to me. This is why I drink.
I've had this conversation plenty of times with people who get into the whole, I'm this way, they're that way, I'm right, they're wrong. And it really does come down to where you were born. Plain and simple. If you were born into if you're born into the Ivory Coast, you have a different take on the world. Like, I mean, you've been born into you've been born in Somalia. The idea that you would have any sort of moral base to go off of, come on. Your family was slaughtered. You were made a child soldier when you were 5 years old, and like Jesus is going to come into your life and save you, and you're supposed to have some sort of great moral code. Stop it. So yes, a lot of that is simply where you were born.
Right.
And
Well-
as crappy as it is, there has never, ever in the history of man been a more peaceful,
Yeah, that's right.
and safe and functional time on the and it's not even close.
We've evolved
than what it is right now. So that's the other one that I roll my eyes at when people are like, "Oh my God, it's so bad." No, it's not.
We've evolved.
Pick any other time, and go back, and it's 1,000 times worse.
That's fair, but it's still like, what is happening? Like, why can't people see it?
I for me.
So yes, it's better, but it's still shockingly like.
I go back to I really do, and this is just my personal thing. I read a lot about ancient. I find where we came from to be, that's probably what I read about more than anything else. I'm fascinated by it. Human evolution and ancient history, blown away by it. And the more we find out about it, I just can't get enough of it. And for some people, that is probably just boring as sin. But I just think that, again, inherently, we are wild, evil, sadistic animals. And when you may not think it, but we came from chimpanzees. And if you ever want to see something that's nasty, go look at chimp society sometime. Dude, that thing is gnarly. And that's all we are.
Then are there chimps that are like me and they're all like
and they're pushed to the side and they don't have dominant roles and they're picked. Absolutely, chimps do. Go watch. There's a really good documentary on Netflix called Chimp Empire, and it's narrated by Marshala Ali. And they've never had one that's this in depth, where they go in. It's the largest chimpanzee colony in the world, and they follow them around for like 2 years, and it's fascinating. And there are the dominant ones. There are the ones trying to work their way up. There's the soft ones that don't want any sort of conflict. In fact, one of the sadder ones is there's a chimp, and he's not very big. He's not very aggressive. No one really. He's kind of an outcast, and they go on this patrol to the edge of their lands because they're going to check out another chimp tribe to kind of keep them out of their territory. And the dude, the one chimp, kind of backs out. He gets scared at the moment and abandons the patrol. And he just doesn't have it in him. He's just not an aggressive chimp. And so he heads back on his own. And while he's heading back on his own, he encounters the other chimp tribe. And they murder him. They beat him to death. And it's like you get real glimpses of human society where, at least now in our society, when you're a chimp like that and it's not for you, they don't go and find you and beat you to death.
Yeah. There's a Reddit thread for me.
Yes. That you can
community.
Yeah, you can go find
look,
other chimps that are like you.
I just feel like humans are awful to one another, and I don't really get it. So
they are.
Stop it, stupids. We're all in this together. We're all more alike than different. Okay, there's my 2 cents. Okay. Let's talk about gay sex.
Oh, all right.
Whoa.
Speaking of the ancient Greeks,
I was doing something else. That caught me off guard.
Ortner's face is like, what? Well, I'm talking about the Dwight Howard story.
Yeah.
It does involve.
Look up Kitty.
Gay sex.
Yeah,
I did, and I.
Yeah, it's
Well.
Kitty?
Yeah.
That's his.
Just hold on.
Yeah,
We'll do it all next.
We'll
okay?
talk. We're
gonna do it. You ready for this, Will?
I don't pay attention to this.
Will's not ready. But that, whether you like it or not, is next on The Fan.
The home of Dirt and Spray.
I'm Dirt.
let's play the new fun game. Does Will Ortner know who Dwight Howard is?
Yeah, come on, dude.
Okay. I had to ask. We had to get a baseline for your knowledge.
He
of it.
was in the finals with the Magic and Jameer Nelson. It's
How old were
sports-related.
you when that happened?
Middle school, right? That would have been 2010. So middle school. Yeah.
Yeah, Dwight's 37 years old. And one of the more underrated players of his generation, in my humble opinion.
Certainly a freak athlete. Dwight Howard's current. So let's talk. Let's see if we can make Will uncomfortable here. We've got gay sex talk here.
Yeah.
Okay. Dwight Howard's currently being sued for sexual assault.
Yes.
And
which you should not be laughing at.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
It is centered around him forcing a man into a threesome with another man.
Yes, named Kitty.
Yeah, so the man who is suing him is a man by the name of Stephen Harper. And he claims the third man was a fully bearded, cross-dressing male named Kitty, and that he was assaulted during their sexual activities.
Yes.
He says that Howard touched his privates and said he was going to do whatever he wanted to him and that he would like it.
They met on the gram, I believe.
Howard denied the allegations and claimed that they only engaged in consensual kissing, which is really the fascinating part of this whole story, is that Dwight Howard is saying, oh, no, that's all pretty close. It's just that we just kissed.
Yeah. So it turns out Dwight Howard is he's into the dudes. And
yeah, and he's saying as much, which I think is great that he can just say that and nobody really seems to care because we shouldn't care. Who cares?
Yeah. This is well known about him, though.
Is it?
Yeah, like there have been rumors about him, and
well, rumors are different than well known.
Yeah,
it's different than text messages being leaked where Dwight Howard said, "Thinking about that meat."
When there's
Hey-o!
Was that a real text?
That is a real yes, yes. Yeah, they because they were like, I guess they were texting back and forth on the gram, and that's when Dwight
is this
Howard.
Kitty or is this Steven?
No, this is Steven.
Yeah, Kitty
And
was just the
third
guy.
Yeah, I think it was a gal. Well, it's,
Well,
well,
he
it's-
said cross-dressing male.
Yeah. So
Bearded cross-dressing
Well,
male.
there's a photo of Kitty out there, and yeah, Kitty is Kitty's rather mannish. Now, in defense of Steven, I will say that's got to be pretty terrifying. Dwight Howard is an absolute physical specimen. And you roll over to Dwight Howard's place, and out comes Kitty, and Dwight Howard and Kitty are like, yeah, we're about to do this. That's a pretty intimidating thing.
Yeah, it gives new meaning to the term fighting through the double team.
Yes, it does. And by the way, Steven's not a big guy, and Dwight Howard. And,
How do you know that?
It talks about in the piece that he is not he's not a large man.
Mm.
And Dwight
That's
Howard,
tough.
Dwight Howard and Kitty are. But yeah, just kind of, you would think that an all-time NBA great being caught being into cross-dressing dudes three ways with other dudes thinking about that meat, you would think that that would be a bigger story, and yet it really...
Yeah, no one...
There have been rumors about him and dudes and cross-dressers since I was around high school aged.
All right.
Yeah, but...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's one,
There were
again...
Thailand trips, I think, if I remember right.
I just think it'd be weird, like...
You know what goes on in Thailand?
I watched that movie.
What?
The Hangover, too.
Oh.
Oh, that movie is The Hangover 2? You
Yeah,
should
come on,
never
dude.
refer to that movie and have it be The Hangover 2.
You know how I learned about Thailand? I think I've told you this before, but worth repeating. I was a bartender in Kansas City at this cool Scotch and cigar bar named Harry's, and we had these kind of older, more distinguished clientele. And one of the guys came back from a trip to Thailand, and he dropped pictures down on the bar. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will never get that out of my head,
No.
ever.
No, it happens.
And he thought that was great.
He's like,
I'm like, whoa,
he's like, check this out.
Gary.
Yeah. Dwight Howard did tell everybody there was no business where he put his business.
So is he openly gay then? Or
Sounds like it
he's
now.
just not.
Nah, it sounds like he's like,
He's
it's
like,
up.
fine.
Yeah, he's like, he got me. I mean, what do you...
All right.
Yeah, it's out there. Well, again,
Good on him.
you would think in this day and age...
Well, I mean, not if he's sexually assaulting dudes. But
No. I guess it cost him his the gay thing doesn't fly in China, and he was playing over there, and so I guess
Oh.
they dropped him. So I guess that did technically cost him his job. But in today's day and age, like, you would think that it'd be okay at this point for any athlete to come out and just be like, hey, I'm gay. But we still don't get it. We still don't get a lot of them. I mean, we had Nassib in the NFL that came out. He recently retired. Is there any other actively gay athletes? I mean, Dwight Howard, but he's not in the NBA. He was just a couple years ago. But he wasn't out when he was playing in the NBA. Rumors, but he wasn't out.
I can't think of one.
No. So you would think that like the Dwight Howard
So
Dwight Howard got caught with a cross-dressing threesome with Kitty, and collectively everyone kind of went, meh. You would think at this point that you could just come out and be you.
Well, maybe it's just like you don't even have to come out. I think it's just people are, and insiders know it, and that's
Yeah.
it, and it's fine. It's nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's probably more that you don't have to announce it.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean,
Yeah,
no one
but you would
cares.
think that you would want to be able to have your boyfriend or your significant other,
Well, it sounds like Dwight Howard does.
Well, he does. Well, apparently Dwight Howard's into
Thinking
some,
about that
I just read that and I was like, that's just one of those texts that you're like, hey, oh.
Nope.
That can be all kinds of things. There's different kinds of meat. Doesn't have to specifically refer to that,
Right.
It could be lots of things.
Maybe he's into links.
What?
You don't want to know.
Well,
someone said, interestingly, though, Dwight Howard. Is this true? Dwight Howard has like 7 kids?
Yeah, he's got a bunch, doesn't he? With a bunch of different women.
Well, there you go, mate. So he's just into whatever. He's evolved. It's an ever-changing landscape. Either that or he just had a really big beard for all those years.
It's all a spectrum.
Yeah, he has 5 kids, 5 women.
Yeah, well, go Dwight. And now he's got Kitty. So, but no job in China now. Gonna have to go to some place that's a little more friendly. Just a scooch.
Thailand's always out there.
I don't know if they have a professional basketball team, but my guess is they would welcome him with open arms.
There's professional basketball everywhere.
I think anything goes in Thailand. I think if you're looking for one place where literally anything goes, Thailand.
That's what that movie told me.
that movie.
All
It
right.
is interesting though, like if you hear like a dude who's on his own, he's like, "Yeah, I'm just going on a holiday to Thailand."
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh,
yeah.
boy."
Okay, perv.
Mm-hmm. Rush Limbaugh went to Thailand on his own. Just saying.
We have malicious fecal distribution news.
This is malicious fecal distribution.
And it involves a Disney theme park.
Just thinking about that meat. That's all.
That's next. Here's Will.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports.
Riders at Disneyland and Disney World have been defecating while standing in line.
Come again?
According to witnesses.
What?
Yes. One of the
And
major...
yet I got kicked out of the Star Wars bar at...
well, what'd you do?
Oh, apparently I wasn't ordering food and I wanted more drinks. I've told that story.
Yeah, but you weren't...
You also weren't with a family.
Yeah, it was just me. I had a table at the Star Wars Cantina, and I was told that there's a drink maximum and that I brought 2 drinks in with me, and she was only counting one of those against my 3 drinks. And because I wasn't ordering food, they needed that table for families, which is ridiculous that I was at a Star Wars Cantina and I was asked to leave.
It is ridiculous that a family theme park asked a single bald man there by himself to leave so that a family could go sit down and eat.
I don't think you should ask anyone to leave.
I don't have rights
That's
to
right.
go sit down.
You can be in there.
Thank you. I wanted to go drink. I didn't want to eat at the Star Wars Cantina. I wanted to drink. It's a cantina.
But she found a technicality, your drink minimum.
Yeah, what is that?
And
maximum, which is...
You should have just ordered everything on the menu and made him bring it to you and then walked out.
I would, except the food is so expensive there.
Well, no, just don't pay for it.
So
you want me to order food? All right, I'll order food.
And
I want one of everything. And they bring it out, and you stand up and walk out.
And she did the quiet, like not to embarrass you voice. Well, sir, you've already had 2 drinks, and we have a 3 drink, and I saw you come in with the 2 Bud Lights, so I'm only gonna say that it was just
Bud Light.
one.
What are you, a snowflake?
That's the only beer they served was Bud Light.
Snowflake.
This was
Kid
before.
Rock would be pissed.
This was before Bud Light was
That's right.
was awful. This was back when Bud Light was acceptable.
Our fearless leader, Kid Rock, would be having none of this.
He got caught drinking Bud Light though.
What?
Yeah, he was at a concert recently, like just a
Well,
month.
he'd probably say the same thing you just said.
Um,
That's all they had.
Yeah, well, just saying.
Excuses.
I thought it was pretty bush league that they asked me to leave. I had already eaten. I just wanted to go in and drink. But apparently it's okay to crap your pants, but I can't have...
No, not crap your pants. No.
No. They're dropping their pants?
Correct.
And pooping.
Correct.
In line.
Correct.
That's worse than crapping your pants.
Apparently, Disney guests can wait in line for Rise of the Resistance, which is
Yeah.
the Star Wars themed attraction.
Yeah, you got to wait in line for a long time for that
It's-
bad boy.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half wait.
Yeah.
And
take a bunch of mushrooms. It's way better.
There's a Redditor who claims to have worked near the ride and confirmed this claim. And he said, for the skeptics, this actually happened. Fun fact, this was one of 3 S-related incidents at Rise today. Less fun fact, I was there for all 3 of them.
Oh my gosh.
A Reddit poster who claimed to have worked at Disney World in Orlando described guests leaving their bodily waste on the premises. Bodily fluids no longer bother me after working at Disney. Let's just say that the attraction I work at has what the cast ended up dubbing the poop hall because of the number of times guests have gone in there and pooped.
Wow.
We even put a camera. It didn't stop it. The claim was seconded by another Disney cast member, a reference to the company's theme park employees. Good Lord, the poop hallway, they wrote. I dealt with way too many bodily fluids at that dang attraction.
So when you wait that Star Wars ride they're talking about, that was the big one. Like you had to wait in line. It was like an hour and like 45 minutes to go on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're sitting there, and there are little nooks and crannies because it's like you're walking through a Star Wars spaceship. So
Yep.
someone's just going in the corner and taking a dump.
That's right. Or they're
Oh.
letting their kids do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And again, I'm the problem at Star Wars Land. Okay, cool rules, Disney.
Yeah, but I think they have a deal. I was reading in here that says that if you need to use the restroom,
Can't you just leave?
they have people. You can just tell them, and they
Yeah.
will have people come and stand in line for
How
you.
about just telling the person behind you, hey, I really got to use the bathroom. Can you hold my place in line? Who's saying no to that?
Yeah.
We're not savages. We're not animals.
Well, apparently we are. You just did a whole segment on we are
No,
animals.
that's true. But I would think
We're
that
just monkeys,
What?
dude. That's
I
what
would-
you said.
Yeah, we're just chimps.
I would think in Disney
Or
that-
bonobos.
that we would be better. Yeah, in your case, snowflake. I would think at Disney that just blows my mind that someone is literally willing to just go into a corner and take a dump in Star Wars Land. Although crapping in the Millennium Falcon would be kind of funny. Gotta leave this one for later. Wow, and then you can't wipe or anything, so you're just going raw the rest of the day.
You could use a sock.
According to reports.
Wow.
Well, they, probably some napkins,
Jeez Louise. Like, I like Disney as much as the next guy, which is not much, but holy cow.
Does that make you want to go to Disney?
No, you should never go to Disney. I just was there, and I had nothing else to do that day, so I thought, what the hell? I will say that going to Disney by myself, and this is maybe an indictment on families in general, is the best time I've ever had at Disney. There was no kids.
Oh, yeah.
It was just me, and
if I got to go to Disney by myself, I would have a great time.
Yeah, it's way better.
It's the stupid kids that ruin it.
Yeah, you can drink all day. You take a bunch of edibles, and believe me, Disney on edibles is amazing. There's some stuff that takes on a whole, like that 3D Toy Story ride. Holy crap, you're seeing some stuff.
I mean, aren't there a lot of things you could do by yourself that would be fine, but with family, they suck?
Disney's number one.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that fall into that category because when you're by yourself, you're uninhibited. You're just like, I'm just going to experience it this way.
Yes.
Whereas stupid kids, you have to. That's why kids are stupid. They're so selfish. It's like, well, now I got to do all this because of you.
And the best part is,
I don't want to do that.
My kids were so pissed because I was in Florida with a buddy of mine. We just went down to Florida and we were going to a concert, and he was busy that day, so I didn't have anything to do. So I was like, I'll go to Disney. And my kids had been trying to get me to take them back to Disney for years, and I was like, I'm not doing that. Disney sucks. And so I didn't tell them I was going. I just sent them photos of me at Disney World. And they were so pissed. Like, you hate Disney. I'm like, actually, it's kind of fun.
It's great when you go by yourself. Get drunk.
Yeah.
Walk around.
Yeah.
Not ride any of the rides. Hit on the ladies.
I will say that you get very, people are very suspicious.
Yeah.
Of.
Look at you.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't say?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that as a bald man who teaches elementary education that people get suspicious of you when their kid runs up to you.
Yeah.
Would have never thought that would happen.
And my beard was like twice as long as it is now. It
You were
was
tattooed up.
And I was in a sling. The best part is that sling got me to, not all of them, but I used that sling because I was after I tore my my pec and my bicep. I was able to use that sling to weasel my way to the front of some stuff. And it was another one where I think people thought I was using the fake like Ted Bundy. Like, hey kids, I'm injured. You want to help me into this van? Yeah, there was some suspicion going on. Which I think ultimately was the reason why I was asked to leave that cantina. That 3-drink thing is horse crap. That lady had it out for me when I walked in
and
there.
our Bud Light's really even drinks.
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
Someone texted us and said, can't people plan their craps before getting in line? I have meetings all day and I don't need to crap in the conference room. It's a great point. I guess maybe there's two things at play. One, you've got stupid kids who can't plan anything because they're dumb. And two, you got a public space where people don't respect it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just mass, wall-to-wall, it's sea of humanity, so they think no one's watching them.
You've also been eating corn dogs and curly fries all day.
There's that. And so, yeah, you're a little bubbly, and before you know it, you're kind of stuck. You're like,
Yeah. Look, I can't judge the sneaking up on you because it
does happen.
My stomach is like, there's certain things I eat and it's like it's a countdown, and when it happens, it happens. So I'm not here to judge being caught in a rough spot. But the idea that you can't go find a bathroom at Disneyland, that's ridiculous. Like, when it's happening, and you're really sitting there being like, I'm just gonna poop. That blows my mind that people are willing to do that. Although it shouldn't, because again, people are awful and
they're chimps.
They're chimps.
All right, well, we're back to that.
It really has come full circle.
We'll wrap it up next on The Fan.
Seahawks football is on The Fan.
6 DBs in the game. Play fake. Dobbs being chased by Witherspoon, who gets there and throws him down all the way back at the 15-yard line.
Join us all season long for Seahawks football. Brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, your local independent train dealer. It's hard to stop a train. Online at aneheatingandcooling.com. The Seahawks play here. 1080.
Touchdown, Seahawks!
The Fan.
If you have a water heater, I'm about to save you $150. What's up, everybody? Sprague here. A lot of people don't realize that water heaters need annual maintenance. You can do it yourself, or you can leave it to a plumber and
All right, well, we're about out of here. I think.
Yeah, like 4 minutes.
Oh, hey, that's plenty of time.
Yeah, you got time.
Did you see Joe Rogan's going to be leaving Spotify? Did you read that?
No. Is he getting a gajillion dollars to go do it somewhere else?
Well, he got $200 million at Spotify.
Yeah.
And his deal's up. And Spotify is hemorrhaging money. And
I never understood how Spotify makes any money, but, you know.
Exactly. And then they dumped a bunch of money into podcasting, and that's not going well. Even though he gets like 11 million
I think he's the number one.
downloads.
I think he's the number one podcast.
Yeah, he gets 11 million a show.
I have nothing against, Joe Rogan. He's fine. I think sometimes he's interesting, sometimes he's not. But it blows my mind that is the most listened to thing out there.
Is it still?
Yeah.
11 mil?
Yeah, it's
pretty good.
It's enormous.
They have number 2 also. Call Her Daddy.
What?
Yeah, that's the other.
Yeah, that's the other one. Call Her Daddy.
That's the Barstool gal.
Yeah,
well, no, it's Spotify now.
Alexandria
I know, but
Cooper?
it started as the Barstool gal.
Is that who it is? Alexandria Cooper?
Yeah, and the Daddy Gang.
She's a hot.
Yeah, she
Have
is.
you seen her?
Oh, yeah.
Never heard it.
It's
but
just fascinating to me that
It's hot.
of all the things that are out there, like those two things.
Well, they're saying he may go to X with his buddy Elon.
Oh, yeah?
Because he had Elon on a show.
And try to get people to
try
pay
to
for
get
that?
people to go to. I don't know. I don't know what they would do.
Are they still trying to get people to pay for that thing? Hey, don't look now, but the Red Wings have cut this thing.
Hey, they score again?
Yeah, they scored again.
My Red Wings? It's 5-3. It was 5-0 a second ago.
Our Red Wings do have a point in 8 straight games, so it was 5-1, and all of a sudden 5-3.
All right.
Yeah?
Right now they have 3 points.
No.
Obviously, that was the joke. buddy.
Oh, okay. He gets it.
Obviously, that was the joke.
For a minute there, I thought that was a Rop hockey take.
What are you talking about?
I know what a point is. I sleep underneath a Wayne Gretzky
I
autograph.
actually don't.
Do you sleep under a Wayne Gretzky autograph?
I do, and I think coffee too.
Like a cup of coffee? What?
No, like is
you
it,
have no
is it
idea.
Glenn Coffee. I
You
think
have no idea who that is, do you?
he's a Hall of Famer.
I know him.
That's
Paul Coffee.
There
There
you
we
go.
go.
Played for the Rangers.
It's old Paul Coffee. When we were in Japan, we were in this. This is one of the weirdest things that I just so random, and it made me think of it. We were in this. We were in Tokyo, and there was this ramen bar that I guess was on, Food Network or whatever, one of those travel shows. Supposedly, it's the best ramen place in all of Japan, and it is the diviest place you've ever been to. Like, there's a line into the sketchiest alley. So it's like a half-hour wait to try to even get into this place.
Do people poop in there? There?
You could poop in the alley, and I think you would make an improvement. Like, if you're in this alley, you are assuming that someone is going to stab and murder you. And you walk up a hallway like, Will, you wouldn't fit. Like, I had to duck.
Calling me fat again?
And it is this really narrow, tight
Bookended
space.
the show by calling you fat.
Started it calling me girthy. Now he's calling me fat.
You walk up into it, and there's like 6 stools. And that's it. And it's this ramen place. And on the wall.
Was it really that good?
It was pretty good. I don't, is it the best ramen in the world? It was good. It was legit.
Right.
But on the wall was just this greasy piece of paper stapled to the wall. And it was covered in stains. And it said, best ramen I've ever had, Wayne Gretzky. And I was like, that is so random. And you would think they'd put it.
I'm George McCoy with Warren Allen, Attorneys at Law. I love the fall. Baseball playoffs, the start of basketball season, and of course, college and pro football. But we often overlook how dangerous road conditions can be. When you mix falling leaves with rain showers, extra glare, and